Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Another very pleasant night in the Queen City of Cincinnati as Fox Sports Ohio brings you Cincinnati Reds baseball. Tonight, the visiting New York Mets magic number starts the day at 3 to make the postseason, and the Reds hope to derail that Mets train as the Mets take on the Reds at Great American Ballpark. Hi, hello, and welcome to Cincinnati, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch and Jim Day, I'm George Grant. You know, it's not very often you get to this stage of a season and you begin to look at the rookie numbers and find two outstanding rookies going head-to-head, and two pitchers, Chris, that we'll see tonight are exactly that.
Well, you're exactly right, George, and really for different reasons. Number one, Anthony DeSclafani's had a really good year for the Reds. When it's all said and done, DeSclafani will end up having about 190 innings. He could have gone deeper into games this year. The Reds were very cautious about his pitch counts. They got him out of ball games after 6 innings when he was up in the mid-80s in pitches. So when you look at his season overall, it could even be better than what you see right there. And he's not a bad season at all. 9-11 with a 3.7 earned run average, playing for a team that has struggled the way the Reds have. Well, that's the main reason why he's not had more wins.
You know, you look at the numbers, and when you look at the important categories among rookie pitchers, these two pitchers are at the top of it, and Noah Syndergaard is the real deal.
Well, he's really the real deal because he throws 100 miles an hour, and I'm not kidding one bit. No, really, he throws anywhere from 98 to 100 miles an hour with a fastball. He's got a snappy breaking ball and a good changeup. So you put it all together, and you've got a guy that has the stuff of Nolan Ryan, except he's only 22 years old or 23 years old, and he's got the kind of start ability that can take a team, if he gets hot, deep into the playoffs. That's the kind of talent you have in Noah Syndergaard. And by the way, he didn't even come up in the Mets organization. They traded for him when they got R.A. Dickey into Toronto, and he came in the other way. And man, oh man, what a find he has been.
You know, when this guy pitched, they called his fastball the creeper. Well, they called Noah Syndergaard Thor. That's 100 miles an hour. Yours was about that, wasn't it?
He'll make your hands Thor.
Coming up, a whole lot more to talk about. Every night you got something to talk about. Joey Votto, JD has more when we return to Great American Ballpark.
to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy, check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Good evening to you. We are going to see better chances for rain as we head throughout the evening against the Mets tonight at 7:10. Temperatures will be around 70 around the first pitch, so we will stay mild thanks to all of the clouds outside, and we'll have best chances for rain as we head toward the end of the game. Temperatures will be sinking into the mid-60s, and we'll have better chances for a few scattered showers by the final out. Enjoy the game on Fox Sports Ohio, and let's go Reds.
It is cool and nice right now on the field. I'm Jim Day. Speaking of nice, what a stretch Joey Votto has been on since the All-Star break, and every game he's on base, and we mean it. He is riding a 41 consecutive game streak of reaching base safely, at least with a hit or a walk. That ties his career high. His numbers over that span: 365 average, 11 doubles, 10 long balls, 25 runs driven in, and 51 walks. Now, believe it or not, that 41 game streak is not the longest current streak in Major League Baseball. That belongs to Joe Mauer, but there's a big difference. Joe Mauer has reached base in 43 consecutive games, but compare the numbers. Mauer 270 average, Votto 365, as we said. But look at the on-base percentage and the slugging percentage. Joey Votto just killing it in most offensive categories. Can Votto make it 42 straight games? They'll need him. The Reds trying to stop the slide at 5. Good pitching matchup tonight. DeSclafani versus Syndergaard. George and Chris are next.
City area both today and tomorrow, but we'll get started on time here with Terry Collins bringing his club. Collins heading towards 400 victories as a Mets manager. Collins, of course, previously had managed in Houston and then in Anaheim before coming to the New York Mets, and he certainly is a candidate for Manager of the Year in the National League as this team has taken over first place in the Eastern Division. And a guy who certainly has taken over the leadoff spot for this Mets team is Curtis Granderson. He's been getting on base. He's been producing runs. He's in the leadoff spot. David Wright off the disabled list. Murphy also spent 2 stints on the DL. And Cespedes, you know about. Yoenis Cespedes, acquired by a trade at the trading deadline, and he's been the most successful offensive addition to any team in the National or American Leagues this year. Lucas Duda spent time on the DL too. He's back. Travis d'Arnaud, 2 stints to the DL. So you get the picture. The Mets have gotten everybody back at the right time with a magic number of 3. And Michael Conforto, a former Golden Spikes finalist, is taking over left field. Ruben Tejada, bounce back here at short. And Syndergaard is hitting in the number 9 position. And speaking of a youngster who's pitched well, Anthony DeSclafani, Chris, still has a chance to finish at 500. He's 9-11.
Well, I don't think that there's a better month of the year really than what he has done here in September. I know his earned run average was much better in the month of April, but he's only walked 3 batters all month long. He's not given up a home run in September, over 23 innings for DeSclafani. So I think he is ending the season in a sharper note than anybody ever thought was possible.
70 degrees as the first pitch is thrown from Anthony DeSclafani. Digging in is Curtis Granderson, the 1-strike delivery, and that's been really the modus operandi of DeSclafani, Chris. He's been throwing a lot of strikes.
Well, he's doing a couple of different things mechanically, George. One, you can see the time that he takes between pitches is much shorter. They've told him, get the ball and go. Make believe you're Tom Browning out there. Number 2, he sped up his delivery in the middle of his delivery. It used to be he was slow and deliberate. He'd take a step back, he'd get his hands over his head. Everything would take a long time. He's quickened that pace, and I think that's really helped him with his consistency, and that was a good move by Jeff Pico to get him to do that.
Looping fly ball to left. Adam Duvall will snare it, and there's 1 away. That'll bring up David Wright. When we played the Mets back in June, Terry Collins told us we don't know if David Wright will be back at all this year. He had a back injury. At first they thought it was muscular. It turned out to be stenosis of the spine. So the long-term feeling is still somewhat up in the air as to how he'll battle this, but he's back, swinging the bat well. He's over 300, 4 homers and 14 knocked in. And Chris, we've watched this guy evolve over the years. He is the Mets captain, but it's one thing being a captain, another thing being a leader, and he's evolved into a leader on this club.
Well, no doubt. I mean, you got to have him, but you just can't have one. You have to have several that are all together. You know, we keep going back to the time in the late 90s when Greg Vaughn and Lenny Harris helped Barry Larkin really all be leaders together. Larkin couldn't do it by himself, neither could Vaughn. And I think that's what the Reds are looking for, is a group of core players that can finally say, all right, this is our ball club, and it hasn't happened yet.
DeSclafani, 2 balls, 1 strike to right. This is another looping fly ball. It's to right. Here comes Jay Bruce. He won't get there. It drops in front of him.
Bad break.
Yeah, he took 1 step to the side, and by the time he recovered, couldn't get in, so it's a base hit for Wright.
And when he did start running, it didn't look like he was running hard. It's easy to be critical when you're sitting up here in the box. You tell me, is he running as hard as he possibly can? Maybe he is, yeah. And then realizes he's just not going to get to it. You know, sometimes there's a lot of reasons for bad breaks. Number 1, you don't see the ball come off the bat. This is the type of night right now, twilight, sometimes it's difficult to see. But when it went up, I thought it should have been caught.
So a duck snort to right, falls for a hit, and here's Daniel Murphy. This one blooped the other way, but Frazier's there, and he'll haul it in. Here's your 4 defensive alignment for the Reds. Adam Duvall, you saw in left. Jason Bourgeois is in center. You know about Billy Hamilton. Hamilton will undergo surgery next week on his shoulder, out for the year. Jay Bruce, who homered last night. Bruce's homer was his 26th. Frazier, Suarez, Phillips, and Votto on the right side of the infield for the 967th time together. And behind the plate is Tucker Barnhart. Duvall, predominantly a first baseman in the Giants organization, played first and left field when he was traded over to the Reds down at AAA for Delino DeShields, and most of his appearances have been in left field since coming up. Here's Cespedes, and you talk about leadership. Some players lead. You mentioned Greg Vaughn and Barry Larkin and David Wright. Others lead by just the way they perform. And Yoenis Cespedes, those numbers tell the story. He has led this team offensively since he put on a Mets uniform at the end of July at the trading deadline, and boy, his numbers are just spectacular, Chris.
Well, they are, but they're not consistent every game. No hitter is, and you can get him at a weak spot. Now, a few games ago, he was 0 for 16 during a stretch, but the last 5 games he's tightened that up, and he's hitting the ball much harder. A 389 average over his last 5 games. Prior to that, as I said, 0 for 16. So he's like a lot of power hitters. You know, you're going to get hot, you're going to get mistakes, you're going to take advantage of those mistakes. But when you get ahead of him like DeSclafani is right now, he will chase.
And you saw those numbers, all of them, whether they are overall year numbers or just numbers since he became a Met, they are among the best in all of Major League Baseball. In fact, people in New York have valued him as a possible MVP candidate in the National League. That won't happen, but he's been the MVP of the Mets, that's for sure. Short lead for Wright down at first. And the other thing he's done is give the Mets swagger, something they did not have and haven't had for a long time.
Hard to put a number on that, but the teams that win have it, especially when they're playing teams that are near the bottom of the division and are looking for the end of the season date more than anything else. You know, the Mets right now don't know when their season's going to end. The Reds know exactly what hour.
Here's a dribbler. Frazier will have to hustle. Barehanded, will put it in his pocket. No chance. Playing deep with a 2-ball and 2-strike count. No chance for him to track that down. So we haven't had a hard hit ball yet, but there are 2 runners on with 2 outs, and here comes Lucas Duda.
You know, it seems like Anthony DeSclafani gets an unfair number of these type of hits against him. And I don't know why. Maybe because he pitches inside to right-handers and he saws them off a lot.
Now, if you're a hitter, you never believe that all those even up, the hard hit balls. If you're a pitcher, you never believe that those even up either on the other side, do you?
No doubt. Well, you just don't want to let 2 easy hits like that turn into a really bad inning by making a mistake to a guy that can launch it a long way.
Fouled off to the left side. Duda, 243, 22 homers, 60 knocked in. I mean,
that's what I like about DeSclafani. You know, Duda's a fastball hitter. DeSclafani's a fastball pitcher. Duda's looking first pitch heat. He gets it and he's late. There's a little bit of deception there with DeSclafani that you don't see with every pitcher.
From the stretch, DeSclafani. That's strike 2. Behind the plate, you see Angel Hernandez, your home plate umpire. Chris Conroy's over at first. Teddy Barrett's at second. And Adam Hamari is your third base umpire. No balls, 2 strikes. High in the air to center field, but it's going to stay in the park. Jason Bourgeois hauls it in. A couple of hits and 2 stranded in the first. DeSclafani arrests. Bourgeois to the leadoff spot. From hip surgery, Mesoraco says so far so good. He's looking forward to catching next year. Jason Bourgeois looking forward to the leadoff spot, sponsored by Meyer. Bourgeois in the leadoff spot. Joey Votto moved up to number 2. Brandon Phillips hits in the 3 spot. Brewster homered last night, hits cleanup. That'll be followed by Todd Frazier, Eugenio Suarez, Adam Duvall, Tucker Barnhart, the switch hitting catcher, and DeSclafani, the pitcher. That's in the number 9 position. That's your Reds lineup, sponsored by Meyer. And here's Thor.
Well, he's now 23 years old. When he pitched earlier this year against the Reds, he was only 22, and he evidently does not like the pitching mound. He's got Angel Hernandez out there, and they're going to take a look at the dirt and say, hey, bring a rake out here, because we want a little rake job done.
Chris, I haven't been here all season long, here and there, but give kudos to this grounds crew with all the rain delays that you've had. I mean, around all of Major League Baseball, but here, what the Reds have had here, this grounds crew has done a tremendous job. It's been a year to forget from a weather standpoint, huh?
Well, it is. I mean, you're talking about 2 days worth of rain delays, 5 rainouts, makeup day. The Reds will still have to make up on Monday when they travel to Washington to play the Nationals. And I'm not really sure what the problem is, especially given the fact that DeSclafani went out there and pitched a nice first inning. What do you say?
They're going to put some turf dry out there to, I guess, as you look at it from here, it appears that the watering that was done might have made it a little bit punky right around where he digs his spikes in.
Well, normally the clay that they use to make a mound is different than any other of the dirt that's in the infield, different than the batter's box, different than around shortstop and anywhere else. And I think that maybe I don't know what the deal is, to be honest with you. Maybe his cleats are sticking, but he doesn't like it. And he's going to take the opportunity to have them fix it to his satisfaction, and you can do that nowadays.
Before the Reds come to the plate.
Yeah, one thing about Syndergaard, there is no doubting his athletic ability. I mean, he's a big guy. He's 6 feet 6 inches tall, 240 pounds. He's only 23 years old. He's out of Legacy High School in Mansfield, Texas, where the Toronto Blue Jays picked him in the first round. He was 38th pick overall. But the Mets got him in a trade when they traded the Cy Young Award winner R.A. Dickey to Toronto. They got 2 main players in return. One was Syndergaard. The other guy's behind the plate catching him tonight. So this is what you hope for when you trade a pitcher the caliber of R.A. Dickey or Johnny Cueto, that you're going to get somebody who can be a dominating pitcher, and the Reds are happy with the early returns on what they've got from Kansas City in the trio of left-handers. Syndergaard, on the other hand, is a guy that throws as hard as anybody in baseball as a starting pitcher. And I'm talking about anywhere from 97 to 100 miles an hour. He may not live there all game long, but with that arm speed comes a very good rotation breaking ball. I mean, a real snappy breaking ball and a good changeup.
These are the fastest average fastballs among starters, and you see where Syndergaard sits. And I think and remember, Dan Worthen's a pitching coach in New York. When you have young pitchers like this, to get them to control the strike zone with fastballs is a pretty good accomplishment, and Dan Worthen's helped them evolve into that this year. There's Jason in at 239, 3 homers, 13 knocked in. This rotation, Steven Matz pitched against the Reds last night. Syndergaard tonight. Matt Harvey. Jacob deGrom will be seen in this series as well. And of course, Bartolo Colon, the 40-year-old, is the guy who has had a tremendous year. Here's a bouncer that'll go over the head of right, down the left field line. Bourgeois around first, heading to second. He's got a 2-bagger. So Jason on and in scoring position, the leadoff hitter in the first, his 4th 2-bagger of the year.
You bring in the third baseman with the threat of the bunt, the high chopper, and that's an easy double.
Well, they named it the Baltimore chop because they used to keep the home plate area so hard in Baltimore at Old Memorial Stadium, and that's exactly what you got there. You saw that ball take off with the hit right next to the plate. So Bourgeois, good speed and scoring position, and here's Joey Votto, 316, 29 homers, 76 knocked in. A
shakeup in the lineup tonight with Votto going from number 3 to number 2. Phillips getting out of the cleanup spot in the number 3 hole, and Todd Frazier or Jay Bruce number 4 tonight.
Joey 0 for 3 against Syndergaard in their matchups earlier this year. In that game in New York, Syndergaard went 8 innings, allowed 5 hits in a run, didn't walk a batter, struck out 5.
Dominating performance.
Man, it was. And the Mets won it 2-1. From the stretch, the big right-hander. And you know the stories if you watched our Reds Live pregame with Jeff Pecoro and Brian Giesenslaw and Jim Day. We continue to chronicle the year that Joey has had. For Joey, he's now reached base safely in 41 consecutive games and hit .365 during that period. That ties his career high from his MVP season of 2010. That's a little bit low.
Well, this is the great kind of a bat that I mean, drop everything and watch this, because you've got one of the fastest throwers as a starter in baseball, a young kid on his way up against one of the best hitters in baseball, who right now is on top of his game.
Now you pay admission just to see this matchup. You see Joey choking up a little bit against this hard thrower. 3 balls, 1 strike. Darno flashes his sign. Bourgeois off second. That's a strike. Will go full 3-2.
Change up at 90. Votto's going to take a moment to process that. How about 3-1? Your average fastball is around 98 miles an hour, and you throw a changeup on a 3-1 count. Boy, has baseball changed.
What you throw on 3-1, do you throw on 3-2, the old adage? You back it up. 3-2. Votto sends this to left. There's Conforto tagging but holding at second. Will be Bourgeois. Check your 4 defensive alignment for the Mets. Michael Conforto, the rookie who's come up from the minor leagues, has done an outstanding job in left with 5 assists from the left field slot. Cespedes has moved over to center, and Granderson has been in right all year long. David Wright back at third. Tejada has had a bounce back year at short, solid defensively. Murphy, who's played around the outfield as well as third, now with Wright back, he's back to second base. And Lucas Duda is over at first. And behind the plate is Travis d'Arnaud. Here's Brandon Phillips at .295, 12 homers and 68 knocked in. Talk about Joey and how hot he's been. Well, don't forget about Phillips since the All-Star break, over 300 at .319, and that's got his average up to .295.
And don't forget about Bourgeois either. It was interesting because the second baseman Daniel Murphy came in to meet with Syndergaard and then brought the catcher out. They talked about something, and I'm pretty sure it's about Bourgeois at second base. They don't want to have him steal an easy third base right here. And that is the one area where Syndergaard still needs a lot of help. I mean, at 23 years old, the fact that he's in the big leagues pitching the way he is amazing. So you're not well rounded yet. But they have stolen 15 bases, the opposition has, and they've thrown out 1. And this is an ideal time for Bourgeois to push the lead, steal third base, and make it easy for the Reds to get a fly ball to get a first run.
Strike 1 to Brandon. In the air to right. Granderson back. Bourgeois tagging. He's heading to third and will get there easily. So Phillips moves the runner over. Runner at third, but now 2 outs, and here comes Bruce. Jay last night connected for his 26th home run of the season, and if you're with us, you know that it not only was a notch on his belt, but it also got a brand new Toyota truck for one Reds fan whose name had been drawn prior to the start of the game. What a moment this was, Chris.
Well, he has been on a home run tear. That's one reason why he's batting in the cleanup spot here tonight. And not only a home run tear, but a home run tear that wins a Toyota.
Now the Toyota contest still goes on, but it reverts back to what it has been all year long. That is, if a Reds player hits the Toyota sign in right center. Last night it was if you hit it in the stands from the foul line all the way through the moon seats to right center field. High in the air to center. This will stay in the park though. Right center field closing on it will be Granderson as Cespedes is right at his track. So the Reds get a leadoff double, but nothing to show for it. We're still scoreless. Energy numbers for tonight. Anthony DeSclafani, different from first half to second half. His strikeout to walk ratio 1.8 in the first half, 5.5 in the second half. And Chris, that's big time improvement.
Well, you're right. And again, George, it goes back to some of the adjustments you make on the mound physically, you make on the mound mentally. And it's really nice to see a pitcher who's nearing 190 innings for DeSclafani. That's about where he'll be at the end of the year. Finishing on a strong note instead of being a guy that's running out of gas, coasting to the end.
There's Travis d'Arnaud hitting in the sixth spot. The Mets catcher, Conforto next, and then Ruben Tejada. Line drive center field. Here comes Bourgeois. Got it. d'Arnaud hit that right on the button, but playing a couple of steps shallow and in the right spot. He's retired with the line drive. And here's Conforto. You can point to all the guys we've talked about with the trades, and especially Cespedes, but this guy has certainly made his presence felt since coming up. Numbers 277, 8 homers and 23 knocked in. A finalist for the Golden Spikes Award, coming out of Oregon State, and his bloodlines tell you part of the story too, Chris. His dad, Mike, played football at Penn State, a linebacker, and his mom, one of the best competitors I ever saw. She won gold medals in synchronized swimming at the '84 Olympics in Los Angeles. Tracy Ruiz, looked in her eyes and you knew that she was driven, and you got that same look with Michael. Just a pleasant young man. And in talking with Kevin Long, the hitting instructor, he said, I'm going to say it clearly, this kid is going to be a 300 hitter. He's going to be a productive hitter. And in everyone that we've talked to over the last 2 or 3 years, from Oregon State to USA Baseball, where he played, to the minor leagues, they say he's got one of the best strike zone understandings of a young hitter that they've seen in years, and that has a lot to do with success.
Well, that's going to be tested. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you think you have good strike zone capability until you get to the major leagues, when you have big leaguers just picking 2 inches off the corner and not 2 feet off the corner like they do in the minor leagues. But what you see out of Conforto, you like. Early on, results have been very, very good.
Line towards right center. That's over the head of the center fielder Bourgeois. Round first, going to second. He'll pull up at second base with a 2-base hit.
You know, that swing that he has reminds me just a little bit of Kyle Schwarber. You know, he's maybe not as powerful as Schwarber, maybe a little bit better athlete because he's an outfielder and he runs better, and he's, you know, but you know, you get 2 players like that, left-handed power hitters, breaking into the league at the same time. It makes it fun and interesting, unless you're a right-handed pitcher.
You're right.
Has to face him.
And the swing kind of reminds you a little bit of Andrew Benintendi, the Golden Spikes winner of this year, who was signed by the Red Sox.
Well, he had a good year.
He sure did.
Wow.
Played for Joe Oliver of the Red Sox in his debut in Massachusetts. Was promoted towards the end of the month of August and culminated an outstanding first year. Not a big guy like Conforto, but power packed. Broken bat. That'll get the runner over to third. 2 away though. Tejada is retired. 2 outs, and here's Syndergaard. You know, and Chris, you've been there before. When young players come up, I mean, like DeSclafani, your first year, not only do you look at the numbers and how they present themselves, that you look at how they react to being in the major leagues. And I think from the moment we saw Anthony DeSclafani, just like Conforto, the way he's impressed his teammates have been impressed by the way he operates day in and day out.
You're exactly right on, George. I don't think that anyone had the pressure on him that DeSclafani's had on him on the pitching staff this year, other than Aroldis Chapman for duplicating what he can do. But I mean, when he broke into the season, DeSclafani, he was going to be the number 4 starter. This is before you knew that Homer Bailey was going to be injured all year long. And you figured you had Cueto and Leake, and then DeSclafani, and someone else would fill in. And then all of a sudden, Bailey goes down. You trade a couple of other guys, and he's the ace of the staff.
How about Syndergaard helping himself with a ground ball base hit past the mound into center field, and the Mets take the lead. Syndergaard picks up his 4th run batted into the season with this swing.
You know, everybody with a bat is dangerous, but as a pitcher against pitcher, you can't throw him that pitch right there. You have to remember, and you tell yourself, this guy's a pitcher, but I've got to get him out right here. I don't want the lineup turning over and having to face Granderson. I've got a guy that never gets the hit. I've got to bury him right here. And when you throw a cookie down the middle, anybody can hit it.
So 1-0 Mets, and here's Curtis, who flied to left back in the first inning. Short lead for Syndergaard down at first as Votto holds him in the first base coach's box for the New York Mets. Former Major League outfielder, outstanding base runner, outstanding defender, Tommy Goodwin. And over at third, Tim Tuffle, outstanding second baseman. Popped up left side. Will Frazier get there? Back turned and taken over will be Adam Duvall, haul it in. But a 1-out double by Conforto, a single by Syndergaard, 1-0 Mets.
Hey, let's give you an update on another guy rehabbing. Now, these are good pictures we're going to show you here. First time that we've caught this. This is earlier today, and that would be Homer Bailey throwing after Tommy John surgery. Now, even though this is the first time we've seen him throw, I talked to Homer one-on-one, and he said this is about the 5th time that he has thrown. They're holding him to 75 feet, throwing off of flat ground. But it is definitely a start, and Homer still had not one setback. He said even right after the surgery, didn't experience any pain whatsoever and still has no pain in that arm. Now, with that being said, it is a long shot for him to start the season, the regular season next year with the Reds. But he says if I'm not on the active roster by May 15th, something is wrong. But so far, so good with Homer Bailey.
Great news, and it's great to see him around the clubhouse, Chris. He's been around a long time now. You know, some players you never see that year after surgery, but he's been around. He's anxious to get back.
Welcome back. I mean, that's a long time to have to sit out, especially when the club paid you a lot of money and expected something, and you feel like that you need to deliver. And I'm sure that Homer Bailey will be extra incentivized next year to show the Reds have made a good decision on that long-term deal.
Here's Todd Frazier last night went 0 for 4, then ended a 5-game hitting streak. Saw it off and fouled off. For the Reds in the coach's box tonight, as usual, Billy Hatcher down at first. Another former outstanding outfielder and great base runner in his own right. And down at third, Jim Riggleman, veteran manager and third base coach. No balls, 2 strikes to Frazier. The home run totals of 35 and RBI totals of 88. Back that up with 41 doubles. It's been a Howard year. And you know what it's like, Chris, around the batting cage. We're there every night watching players take BP, and the Mets, after watching the Reds take BP, say what a lot of people say, and there's a perfect example of it. That's a foul ball. They were talking about the home run that he hit with his hands not even on the bat 2 years ago, and that's a great example of it right there. Looks like he's fooled, looks like he's off balance, but somehow the strong hands and wrists, you get the bat on the ball.
Well, you know, he's very strong. If you've ever shaken hands with Todd Frazier, it's like shaking hands with a cinder block. And when he puts the bat head on the ball, because the bat that he carries is a little bit heavier than, you know, most average players bat nowadays. Most guys have gone to very light bats compared to the old timers. But Frazier still has a piece of wood that weighs a little bit more, maybe an ounce or 2 more. Probably just an ounce more, but still that makes a difference. That's what they've been doing a lot, is trying to climb the ladder on him in the second half, and that's one reason why the batting average has gone down.
You saw d'Arnaud before holding the hands up high, wanting the fastball up against him. D'Arnaud's improved offensively, and he's very solid defensively. He's developed, with the guidance of Dan Worth, an outstanding tutelage of his pitching staff. Got him.
Wow. I mean,
what a changeup.
Can you think about this for a minute? You've got an average fastball of 97. You just threw one a second ago at 99. And on a 3-2 pitch, you're going to throw a changeup. That kid is way beyond his years.
As a hitter, that's what you hate to see. As a pitcher, that's a swing you love to see. Here's a Eugenio Suarez, 286, 12 homers, 45 knocked in.
That's why when you're facing a guy like this, and I know he's a young kid, he hasn't posted numbers yet, but when you're facing somebody with the potential that Syndergaard has, number one, you cannot allow him to drive a run in a ball game with a 2-out base hit.
Left center field, sinking, but there, Conforto, and he misses it. Suarez takes a turn, then heads back to first. It looked as if he looked up and got blinded by the light stanchion. Let's see if we can see if he shies away from it. But he reaches up, looks like he's got it.
I think just a misjudge.
Misjump, huh? He jumped a little too early. So the Reds will get a single out of it. And that's all. Suarez down at first. Their second hit.
And the other part of that comment I made about Syndergaard, a game against him, is that when you get a runner at second base like they did with Bourgeois, you've got to push the running game, because you're not going to bunch together 5 or 6 hits in an inning against this guy. You've got to make your breaks rather than sit back and wait for him.
One of the times Pete Rose was here, I asked him, I said, what upsets you more about baseball today? He said, more than anything, he says, when the leadoff batter gets to second and you never get a run out of it, because they're almost giving you a run. If you get a ground ball to the right side and a fly ball, you got to run. There's a line shot off the bat of Duvall, but flagged down by Wright, 2 away.
Well, he has hit the ball hard a lot. Duvall has. He's also struck out chasing pitches off the plate, but that ball nearly rips the glove off of David Wright.
But 2 outs, still sitting at first is Suarez, and that'll bring up the switch hitting Tucker Barnhart. We saw him in New York. He looked dominant. I did get to see him one other time this year in New York, and Chris, he's got something very special, this big right-hander. I mean, that's lethal. 98.
I mean, it's not just 98, it's easy 98.
Yep. Keith Hernandez, when you and I were talking to him yesterday, he alluded to him about a month or so ago when I was watching a Mets game as the closest thing to Nolan Ryan that he's seen in a long time. That's a pretty good stamp of approval from a pretty good hitter. Swing and a miss. Ouch. 99. 2 strikeouts in the inning. The Reds strand their second runners. They trail 1-0. Injuries. Highest win percentage at Great American Ballpark. The Mets have had success here. In fact, overall this year, the Reds are 0-4 against the Mets, and here 0-1, 24-15 with a percentage of over 60%. The Dodgers and Padres, thanks to their early big-time years, also over the 50% mark, and the Astros as well. Mets 24-15 overall. These two teams The Reds lead the all-time series, 314 wins to 271 for the Mets. Terry Collins. I don't know, Chris, who do you pick as the manager of the year in the National League this year? There's a bouncer to short, backhanded by Suarez, long throw, got him. Wright is retired, one away.
It's that, you know, Terry Collins has got to be on your list. I think Clint Hurdle again on your list. Joe Madden has to be on the list, and Mike Matheny. I mean, as much as it may pain people to hear it, the injuries that they have had from the beginning of losing Adam Wainwright and to win the number of games that they've won is remarkable. And
all worthy this year.
Yeah,
certainly.
I mean, that's a tough one to pick every year, and this may even be tougher than normal.
One away. Here's Daniel Murphy. Short pop up into short left that Frazier tracked down first time up. Murphy's come back swinging after getting off the disabled list. He will be a free agent at the end of this year, and the kind of guy, Chris, that can be very valuable on a team.
You know, with the beard the way he's wearing, it looks a little bit like Wade Boggs, doesn't it?
He does. Yep.
That 462 average looks a little bit like Wade Boggs.
Right field, down the line. Bruce going over, looking up. It is off the top of the wall, and he'll cruise in with a two-base hit. 37 doubles now for Murphy. He's on a tear.
Is he ever on a tear? Last 7 ball games, we showed you that number, 462, 7 extra base hits. Add another extra base hit to that. That's a can of corn in New York, and it's a double here in Cincinnati.
And about a foot shy of a homer. So another runner in scoring position. Here's Cespedes, who reached on a dribbler to third for a base hit. City Field is a doubles heaven now with the fences. Even though they brought them back, it's still a cavernous ballpark with a lot of room for two base hits.
You know, in this at bat, I think Anthony DeSclafani has to battle the temptation to try to overthrow. He did on that very first pitch. Better to subtract against Cespedes now than try to throw something past him, because DeSclafani doesn't have one he can throw past him.
Fouls off that fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That has been DeSclafani's bread and butter all year. That little two-seamer down and into right-handers. I mean, he can throw that pitch very effectively and then back it up with a down and inside changeup, the same way that Johnny Cueto was so effective throwing.
Here's in for the sign from Barnhart with DUDA on deck.
Well, they're not together at all right now, Barnhart and DeSclafani. Let's go through it again.
Loop to right. Here comes Bruce. He won't get there for that one, and it's going to be first and third. 2 for 2 is Cespedes. Neither ball hit well, but now the Mets have first and third. You know, Chris, it kind of reminds you a little bit the way Julio Franco used to do it. I think maybe what DeSclafani's problem is, Cespedes waves that bat low in the strike zone, right in front of where the catcher's giving his signs. Remember Franco used to do that all the time?
Yeah, I think that may be part of it, George. I think the other part is that DeSclafani wanted one pitch, Barnhart wanted another, and DeSclafani was going to end up throwing the pitch that he wants to throw.
Which is the way to approach it. Here's DUDA, fly to center first time up.
Boy, I mean, 2 saw jobs on Cespedes as he got 2 hits.
Big time power here, 22 homers, 60 knocked in. This afternoon, Pirates won over the Cubs by a final of 3-2 to get a little more breathing room in that wild card battle for second place. So right now Pittsburgh 3.5 back of St. Louis, and the Cubs 8 back. Left field hit deep. Back to the warning track, looking up. It is 2 rows into the seats. A 3-run home run. A double, a single, and DUDA's 23rd homer makes it 4-0 Mets.
Well, a fastball pretty much where DUDA wants it if he wants to take it the other way. Elevated above the knees on the outer third. Big guy, real strong, hits it late and hits it far.
So 7 hits now for the Mets here in the 3rd inning with only 1 out, and that'll bring up d'Arnaud, lined out first time up. Wright a single in the first, Cespedes a single in the first and the third, Murphy a double in the third, and the homer by DUDA and a double by Conforto. The damaging hits, a single by Syndergaard to make it 1-0, and here the 3-run homer by DUDA in the third that makes it 4-0. Bounce it down to second. Phillips has it. That'll take care of the Mets catcher for the second out of the inning. And bring up Conforto, doubled his first time up. Now the night started with the Mets having a magic number of 3. They're leading here. And the Washington Nationals are trailing Philadelphia 4-1. They're in the 4th inning. An inside the park grand slam home run for the Phillies in that one. 4-1. The lead belongs to Philadelphia.
Well, that's been the kind of year the Nationals have had, to give up an inside the park granny.
They may have the most valuable player in the league in Harper, who's had a tremendous year, but in every other respect the season has been disappointing in Washington. There's a fly ball into left. Frazier over. Daniel haul it in, but the damage done. A double by Murphy, a single by Cespedes, and a 3-run homer for DUDA. 4-0. Arrive early, be one of the first 25,000 fans to receive a commemorative All-Star Game figurine presented by your Tri-State Chevrolet dealers. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. Great to have you with us. George Grant, Chris Welch, Jim Day down by the Reds dugout for tonight's game 2 of the 4-game set. Lucas DUDA is swinging the big bat so far tonight. A 3-run home run, his 23rd of the year. And here's DeSclafani to lead it off as we go to the bottom of 3. It's one thing what a radar gun tells you about a fastball, and you saw the numbers on Syndergaard, the highest velocity fastball among starters this year. But there's something else about how that fastball is produced. You know, you called it in the old days, Chris, easy gas, and boy does he get that.
Well, I mean, it helps that he's 6'6", 240, and he may not be completely filled out yet. I mean, when it's all said and done, he may be, you know, 255 pounds and throwing 100 miles an hour on every pitch. I mean, at 23 years old, I don't think that you're completely peaked out as far as your physical evolution. So, I mean, it's almost scary to think that, and he's the beginning of a whole new generation of pitcher that is going to throw in the mid to upper 90s and even over 100 miles an hour. I mean, when we were in St. Louis, we were told by some of the operatives in their farm system that they've got 3 guys in A-ball that legitimately throw 100 miles an hour. Now, this isn't, you know, general manager speak. This is scouts that have seen these guys pitch, and every organization now can say the same thing. So if you're a hitter, get ready, because here it comes.
Here's Jason Bourgeois, a double first time up. He led off the first with a double, and the Reds never got him in. Fly ball, fly ball, fly ball, and the first inning ended. Off the glove of DUDA into right. Base hit, so he's 2 for 2.
Well, he's got the benefit of a couple of good breaks. The first hit he had was a high chopper right out in front of home plate, went over the head of the third baseman, and this time off the glove of the first baseman, DUDA. That'd have been a tough play for DUDA, even had he been able to corral that ball. So now you wonder how the Reds are going to play it. They're 4 runs down. Are they going to wait around for a big inning, or are they going to try to peck away here and do what you can to get back in this ball game? I mean, will Votto give Bourgeois a chance to steal a base if he's inclined to do so? Does he have the green light? Those are the things you ask right here.
Joey, 3-2 pitch, fly to left, first time up. He threw him a 3-1 changeup first time up. He leads him off with a changeup there.
And he struck him out in New York in an important at bat on a changeup as well. So
Votto was 0 for 3 against Syndergaard that game in New York. Bourgeois short lead. Not going. Fouled off 0-2.
You know, as you look at the pitching motion of Noah Syndergaard, for me, the first thing you notice is that when he gets his hand out of his glove, he's got a very abbreviated backswing. That ball gets out of his glove only a little bit below his waist and then immediately up behind his ear. He's not long at all in his delivery, and that helps with the velocity. Oh, Votto choking up more than ever.
At 98. Might have been the most we've ever seen him choke up right there, Chris.
That's what I'm talking about here. I mean, that glove, that arm really doesn't get down. You're going to see a lot of pitchers, and watch DeSclafani by comparison, really kind of long with his arm. And Syndergaard, well, he's been coached pretty well along the way, because that's a pretty nice arm swing.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Set up away is Darno. On the corner, a strike. 4 strikeouts for Syndergaard. Votto 0 for 2.
No argument from Votto. I mean, you combine 98 at that spot, take it on back through the pine.
2 away, runner still down at first, and here's Brandon, who flied to right first time up. If you talk to people that watch Syndergaard in the Toronto organization and watch him today, I mean, he always threw hard, but his mechanics much more refined. He's pretty compact for a big guy.
Yeah, and that's the key. And you can expect him to get refined. I mean, after all, he was drafted when he was 18 years old. I mean, he's not ready to go to the big leagues then. But I think even getting here at age 22, he probably moved quicker than some people have thought he would.
Here's the 1-0. Under it is Phillips. A high pop up to the left side. Who's going to take charge? The shortstop. Tejada will. Got it. So the Reds get a hit. Nothing to show for it. They've got a hit each inning, but still trail it 4-0. Josh Barnett takes on Roy Nelson in a long-awaited matchup. The UFC Fight Night is tomorrow at 10 Eastern, only on FS1. Jesse, look right to the guys we saw you with the other night downtown by Fountain Square. Great to have you with us here at Great American Ballpark. Game 2 of the 4-game set. George Grant, Chris Welsh, Jim Day. Pleasant night at the ballpark, with the exception of the scoreboard for Reds fans right now. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Mets. No runs, 3 hits for the Reds. There's the shortstop, Ruben Tejada, bounced out first time up. And speaking of 2 heavyweights, a couple of them made news in Washington and New York on this day. The Pope's visit continues in America. Boy, it's been remarkable the last couple of days, hasn't it?
Sure has. I think he's saying mass tonight at Madison Square Gardens.
About 20,000 there at the Garden. And I mean, for a 78-year-old fellow, he is remarkable in his stamina in Cuba and out here in the United States. A strike. Barnhart has it, and there's 1 away. Strikeout 2-3. And his message is not just a message that's a religious message. It's a message about bringing people together, huh?
Well, you hope that it lands on ears that are open.
Here's Syndergaard. Base hit to center, knocked in the first run for the Mets in the second inning. And the other heavyweight news came from Washington, where John Boehner announced, surprisingly, that he's retiring, not just as the speaker, but also as a congressman, surprising a lot of folks. Chris, a guy who is dear to the heart to people throughout the Midwest, and a guy who believes in young people. We've seen that over the years. In fact, ironically, I mean, it was John Boehner who tried to get the Pope to visit the United States 2 popes ago. It took him 3 popes to get things rolling. That's in the dirt, swing and a miss, 2 away. Were you surprised the announcement today?
I was surprised. I think everyone was probably surprised. But, you know, when you feel like it's time to step back, you step back. And, of course, for the Motor High School graduate who lives up there in Westchester, maybe he'll be able to spend more time in the radio booth. He and Marty Brenneman tight. Of course, Marty now, what is he going to do trying to get hooked up for golf in D.C. with John Boehner not there?
Well, Tommy Andrews, of course.
We'll be out playing some munis before you know it.
Right.
Marty?
I don't think so.
Don't let that happen.
You got good connections. Tommy Andrews, of course, the Andrews family that runs the Montgomery Inn, the boathouse, is one of his top aides, and he's been instrumental in keeping connected to baseball here in Cincinnati. And Boehner's a big Reds fan.
Yeah, you know what? Really, the final result of this now, George, is just like in baseball. There's no crying in Washington.
He was emotional today. Not emotional as DeSclafani. He strikes out 3 here in the 4th inning. Reds still trail 4-0. .com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoying the live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, statcasts, live radio broadcasts, and a whole lot more. Get the MLB.com at bat app now.
All right, now last night Rafael Gonzalez won that home run with won the Toyota Tundra with a home run by Jay Bruce into the stands. But now all the Reds player has to do is hit that sign out there. Where'd it go? There's the Tundra way up there. They got another one for you. And if it's a home run hit tonight, David Bragman from Mason gets it. Of course, it's on display here at Great American Ballpark, and you can still register at your local Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati Toyota dealers.
And congratulations to the 6 area dealerships that came up with the idea, along with the Reds, of making sure somebody ended up with a good opportunity to get that Toyota. And it's every year has been interesting, Chris. We first responders, police, fire departments have gotten it in other years, so it's been a productive promotion each year. And Jay Bruce was the man who put a smile on the face of Rafael Gonzalez last night with the homer that got Rafael the truck
Yeah, I thought I saw Rafael Gonzalez here before the ball game shimmy up the back of that pedestal, Georgia. He had a chamois sticking out of his back pocket. That thing looks even shinier than ever here tonight.
You know, you watch people look at something adoringly. Jesse sits up here before every game and looks out there adoringly at that truck.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the Montgomery and ribs he gets every once in a while up here.
He didn't have time to look at it. They're gone. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Bruce. Zip, zip, zip. That is strikeout number 5 for Syndergaard.
Boy, this guy finding a groove. I mean, you'd never know that he really struggled his last time out. He pitched against the Yankees at Citi Field, the home field for the Mets last time out. He gave up 5 runs and 7 hits in 6 innings and ended up with a 5-0 loss. And it's been kind of a common theme for him when he gets on the road that he doesn't pitch as well as he does at home. The splits are very interesting. Very good at home, not so good on the road, but you'd never know it by looking at the way he's handling the Reds lineup tonight.
He's had 11 starts at home and 11 starts on the road, and it's like from the mountains to the valleys, huh? Syndergaard peers in. Strike 1 to Frazier. Fouled off 0-2.
This is what we're talking about here with his home and road splits. I mean, if you just look at this part of it right here, 1 and 5 on the road. I mean, somebody's getting to him, or he's beating himself with bad control. But he's got it all working tonight. I mean, when you can control the fastball and the changeup, and one is close to 100 miles an hour, forget about it, because you know how devastating the changeup of Aroldis Chapman is. Well, Syndergaard's just a nick away from that.
They're heading to count again, 0-2. Staying alive is Frazier. Back-to-back strikeouts in 3 of the last 4. That's 6 strikeouts on the night for Syndergaard.
Well, he's gotten Reds hitters with fastballs, with changeups, and now a slider as that one goes darting down and away out of the reach of Todd Frazier. Strikeout number 6.
2 away, and here's a Eugenio Suarez reached on a base hit back in the 2nd, left stranded. Reds have had 3 hits, a leadoff double by Bourgeois in the 1st. He was left stranded. In the 2nd, a 1-out single by Suarez, and in the 3rd, a 1-out single by Bourgeois. Nothing to show for it. They trail 4-0. And this is old style approach too, Chris. He used it. He didn't break out his breaking ball till the last few batters.
I'm surprised he even broke it out. I mean, it's like he's working on stuff out there.
Yep. A looping liner hits the dirt. Murphy has it though, and that'll do it. 1, 2, 3. That's 5 straight retired by Syndergaard. 4-0 Mets.
I'm Jim Day. Last night we talked about Pete Rose and his ongoing case with Major League Baseball upon possible reinstatement. We told you the commissioner had said that he was going to decide by the end of the year. Well, MLB released a statement today, and in fact, two parties met yesterday. On Thursday, September 24th, Commissioner Rob Manfred met with Pete Rose and his representatives at the Major League Baseball New York office regarding Mr. Rose's application for reinstatement. Commissioner Manfred informed Mr. Rose that he will make a decision on his application by the end of the calendar year. Both parties have agreed to refrain from further comment. And they have really stuck to that all season long, and having been a guy that's interviewed Pete a few times this year, it's one thing that has been off limits. And we talked about it last night, guys. Can't imagine that it's going to be before the end of the playoffs that that decision comes down. That will be an off-season story.
Certainly, they don't in any way want to infringe on the postseason in October. You expect it probably after the writers' announcements of MVP and Cy Young Award winners sometime during the month of November and before the winter meetings, which are back in Nashville this year, and hopefully it'll be good news, but we'll find out. Here's David Wright, singled and bounced out, 1 for 2. High pop up left side. Suarez has it, 1 away. Hey, now time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #OhioDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Running out of opportunities to get your fan photo on the air. 1 away, and here's Murphy. Daniel popped up to third first time up and then ripped his 37th double of the season. That was followed by a Cespedes single and the Lucas Duda 3-run homer back in the 3rd inning. Great to have you with us, George Grant and Chris Welsh, and Jim Day down in the area by the Reds dugout. Our producer tonight, Josh Hall. Brian Hunderman, our director. Associate producers, Matt Sigafus, dialing up some highlights for you, and Jim Miller graphically giving you the picture. And of course, Reds Live, as usual, Kent Dreamweaver and Rufus Ron Millenor doing all the honors for us. Jeff DeCoro, Brian Giesenslaw gave us the pregame picture, and JD will be there to anchor our postgame story too. Tomorrow, game 3 of the series. It'll be John Lamb against Matt Harvey. Here's a bouncer down to first. Votto will tag the runner out for the 2nd inning. And then Sunday, Kivas Sampson against Jacob deGrom. Chris, you look at this rotation that the Mets have, and the Reds blessed with some fine young pitching that we're seeing in this series. And of course, you know the story about the 100 rookie starts. There's John Lamb, and the consecutive number of rookie starts. And it's a similar story for the Mets. Their future looks extremely bright. Marcell Iglesias as well, and we hopefully will see him soon. There's Sampson. Look at the young pitching that the Mets have heading into the postseason. It's for Terry Collins, it's going to be an interesting decision. Who starts game 1, who starts game 2, who starts game 3.
Well, if you have a chance to see every game in this series, and we won't have Sunday's game for you on Fox Sports Ohio, but if you have a chance to see every one, you'll see 4 of the 5 starters and the 4 up-and-comers. I mean, the only guy you're not seeing is Bartolo Colon. And you'll find out, at least according to the Mets, that Syndergaard, the guy who is just dealing tonight and overpowering the Reds right now, is nowhere even close to being the best pitcher. I mean, you got Matt Harvey coming in tomorrow. He's the most ballyhooed of all of them, and maybe one of the best. And then you have Jacob deGrom, who's a rookie of the year last year. I mean, this guy in the All-Star game was just lights out, unhittable. And he can be like that from time to time. So, I mean, those people that have jumped on the bandwagon of the Mets lately, especially since the addition of Cespedes and getting David Wright back, they may be onto something, because this pitching staff can take you a long way.
Line drive out off the bat of Cespedes. Another 2 hits for him tonight. Still Mets leading 4-0.
may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Pleasant night at the ballpark tonight. Reds trailing at 4-0. We head to bottom of inning number 5. Adam Duvall, who lined out first time up, will face the big right-hander. And here's the numerical look at this young rotation. Matt Harvey coming off surgery and his innings limited this year. Zach Wheeler coming off surgery as well, and he figures to be someone who up the road, Chris, will be an impact pitcher, whether it's for the Mets or someone else. And it's been clear that his name has been rumored to be included in a couple of deals already. And Syndergaard and Matz to go along with the Rookie of the Year, Jacob deGrom.
Interesting. 3 out of the 5 names, their first-round draft picks, 1 second-round pick, and deGrom a 9th round pick, 6th or 9th round. So, you know, the Mets not only have drafted well, but they've traded well for other people's #1 picks. That's the old Jim Bowden move. That if you lack in scouting, you just go with somebody's consensus #1 from an earlier date. And when they got Noah Syndergaard, he was 19 years old and he was an A-ball player. Yes, he had good numbers. He never really had a bad year. He'd only been around the minor leagues for a couple of years. But when you trade away a current or a reigning Cy Young Award winner, you expect to get a lot back. And they did.
One ball, 2 strikes to Adam. Duvall hit the hardest ball the Reds have hit tonight. A blistering line drive, but a leaping catch by Wright at third robbed him of a probable double. Big swing, and there is strikeout number 7 for Syndergaard. 1 away here in the 5th. Hey, don't forget, make sure you stop by the Moorline Lager House concession stands at your next trip to the ballpark, located down the 1st and 3rd baseline. These stands feature several craft beer specials with 40 bottled beer selections. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or red.com/tickets. 7 strikeouts. Here's Barnhart, who became strikeout victim number 2 back in the 2nd. With the pitching innings limit, and you know, it still kind of baffles you. You talk about each inning, you talk about pitches, but when they evaluate the limit on a pitcher, they talk about innings. I mean, what's more important, Chris, innings or pitches?
I don't think you could even break it down that basic, George. You have to ask yourself how many of those pitches or innings were thrown under stress. How many have followed after you had one bad inning, or say a 25-pitch inning with another 25-pitch inning back-to-back? How many of those innings were pitched when your arm didn't really feel that great to start with? You know, those are all the little things, and I think a lot of it's individual. And I think that for the most part, you know, baseball has tried to be very conservative in limiting innings and you know, teaching pitchers, you know, to get into top shape possible. But we're seeing more injuries to pitchers frequency wise than we've ever seen before. So, you know, I guess along with the 100-mile-an-hour fastball comes a higher risk of injury, and I'm not sure if you're ever going to be able to get away from that.
Well, Terry Collins and his staff are quick to point out that if you look at the numbers, Matt Harvey, who's on the strictest innings limit of this Met staff, has been either anywhere from 3rd to 6th in baseball at fewest numbers of pitches in inning. So an inning for Matt Harvey is different than an inning for someone who might throw 18 or 20 pitches as compared to 15 to 16 pitches in an inning. And just like Strasburg a couple of years ago in Washington, it's become a big story, certainly in New York among fandom, but also a big story in the clubhouse. One that included not only the manager, the general manager, the pitching coach, but also the agent for Matt Harvey, Scott Boras. Swing and a miss, and that's strikeout number 8 for Syndergaard, who's rolling along a 4-0 lead. Lucas DUDA homered up next. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer, find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on United States News and World Report's best children's hospitals. Speaking of best, we say it often that the Reds and Fox Sports Ohio are fortunate to have the best in the business on our staff here, day in and day out, week in and week out, season in and season out. And most of our crew will be with us right through the end of the regular season here at home. Still one more home series after this Mets series, but J.K. Smith is heading off to vacation land after tonight's ball game. J.K., I know you're going to miss the brownies and the chocolate cake, but I'm sure you've got the car packed with, I would imagine, enough to not only take care of him, but Jim Strickler's going to join him in another week down in North Carolina on the Outer Banks. They'll all be partying down there. J.K., have a great off season and a great vacation. We got a shot of him eating something out there.
He only eats cake, so that's something that is pretty predictable.
Thank you, Marie Antoinette. That's it, J.K. You got some popcorn there, huh? Popped up left side. Will Frazier have room? He will.
Well, he got DUDA this time. He did not retire DUDA his last time up with a couple of runners on base. And that is one glaring discrepancy, really, in the numbers of Anthony DeSclafani, is how do you keep left-handers in the ballpark? This year he's only given up 4 home runs to right-handers all year long. That is as excellent as it gets. But against left-handers, a different deal. So, you know, 25 years old, learning how to pitch in the major leagues over a full year, that is a spot where DeSclafani can focus some efforts and needs some improvement.
I mean, you see the dominant nature of Noah Syndergaard here. When you look at numbers, these are the 2 pitchers that have been the best pitchers among rookies in the National League this year. Syndergaard is #1 in earned run average. DeSclafani's #5. In wins, DeSclafani's #3, Syndergaard #4. In games started, DeSclafani is tied for first. In innings pitched, DeSclafani's #1, Syndergaard is #3. In strikeouts, Syndergaard #1, DeSclafani #2, behind them only by a handful. And an opponent's batting average, they're both in the top 7. So, I mean, both have had tremendous rookie years. One ball, 2 strikes. On the shoulder, Travis d'Arnaud is plunked.
Breaking ball just slipped out of his hand. No harm meant there.
Here comes Conforto. Michael doubled to center and popped up to third.
Now, George, as I said in the open, I really think that DeSclafani could have had a better season statistically than he has right now. The Reds being so protective of pitch counts and number of throws per game and things like this. You know, they've got him out of there after 6 innings, a lot of ball games, when he had only tallied about 85, 86 pitches. So even though he's going 190 innings, I mean, he could have, based on how well he pitched this year, you know, gone well past 200 innings and probably up around 215 if they had let him go in each of those ball games as deep as you used to. Now, I'm not saying that would have been a good decision. I'm just saying that his overall numbers this year could have been better because he wouldn't have turned it over to a bullpen that oftentimes gave it up on his behalf.
I think as you look ahead towards 2016, I mean, you've got among these young pitchers the makings of a good percentage of the rotation. You expect Homer Bailey to eventually be back in it. I would imagine, Chris, you'd expect that you'd have to add a veteran free agent pitcher.
Why?
That could help if Bailey's not ready to start the year.
If Bailey's not ready to start, but you're going to add a veteran pitcher, and you're not going to sit him down after the middle of May comes around when Homer Bailey projects to be back and in the rotation.
The other part of it is not all of these young pitchers are going to be starters, and maybe they can help solve the bullpen problem, which is a major problem for next year. What do they need to reconstruct this bullpen for next year?
Well, they need some pretty good pitchers.
And in an era where it's big time arms. That's hit hard. Votto's got one at second. The quick flip back to first. They turn it into 3-6-3. Good job by Votto. Top of the order due up. Reds trail 4-0.
Live, the post-game edition is brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. I'm Jim Day. 2 Fridays from now, the Reds will not be playing baseball. The Reds' first base coach, Billy Hatcher, will be in a stadium. It won't be a baseball stadium. On this high school football Friday night here in the tri-state area, that guy right there will be in a high school football stadium. He makes his year-round home here in Cincinnati, and he's as big a high school football fan as you will find. He has been sampling high school football in this area for many, many years. Loves to take in a numerous amount of teams. Doesn't have one team. He'll go all over the city to see the big games. And what a great place for that. Southwestern Ohio has really taken over the football scene in Ohio the last decade. Billy Hatcher loves him some high school football.
Big time athlete as a high school player himself, and the genes pay off too, Chris. 2 college kids that played college sports. Not bad. Soccer and football.
And an extremely knowledgeable baseball guy. And the more I talk to Billy Hatcher, the more I'm amazed that he has never been on anybody's short list for a managerial opportunity somewhere.
Well, when Billy talks, you should listen.
Well, I mean, he has respect of the players, which is number one. He knows a lot about the game of baseball. And he's patient. And he's seen a lot. He's played great baseball. He's played on good teams and bad teams. Played on, of course, the wire-to-wire 90 team. Sometimes guys like that slip through the cracks, the managerial cracks. I don't get it. But they retread the same guys over and over again and expect different results.
9 strikeouts now for Syndergaard. First out here of the 6th inning. You know, when you put together your ideal manager, you look at so many different things. Yes, they have to have knowledge of the game, run a locker room, run a clubhouse. Here's Joey 0 for 2 with his on-base streak on the line against his hard-throwing right-hander, and Syndergaard so far has had the better of him. A 3-2 pitch that he flied to left, and then a strikeout looking in the 3rd. So he knows the battle is on, and so does Joey. fastball misses up and in. Change up, down and away. 2 balls and no strikes. Fouled off 2-1. The competitor that Votto is, you know, the war is not going to be won. The Reds aren't going to the postseason, but every time you step in against a guy like number 34, the battle continues.
I'll tell you, you know, he gives me compelling at bats.
Broken bat down to second. Votto will be tossed out. He's 0 for 3. Hopefully one more at bat before the night is over.
He's not the only one 0 for 3 out there tonight. But he's the one probably most angry about being 0 for 3.
And there's something to that, isn't there? I mean, don't give away a pitch. Don't give away an at bat. Don't give away an inning.
Well, he doesn't give away at bats. That's one reason why Joey Votto should be on your list at the beginning of the year of somebody who may win a batting title or an MVP award. Because even in a 10-2 ball game, whether you're winning or losing, and he's facing somebody in the 9th inning and everybody else is just looking for out number 27, he's grinding out the at bat. Some players just don't have that in them. Votto does.
Here's Brandon Phillips, flied to right, popped to short. This week when I did the AAA World Series in El Paso, Fresno was in it, and the Fresno hitting coach is Leon Roberts. Leon, of course, former Reds minor league hitting instructor. He was the roving hitting instructor when Joey first signed. And when other people wondered if Joey Votto was ever going to make it, Leon Roberts argued in every meeting he was in that this kid is going to be special. And I remember a lot of moments, and one I'll never forget was in Chattanooga when Leon Roberts was the roving hitting instructor. He came to town, and Joey's mom and dad came to town. This was the year before Joey's dad passed away. And Joey wanted his dad, he had to leave early, but he wanted his dad to have a feeling there's a hard hit ball to short for what it was like. Leon arranged to have early BP at 10 a.m. in the morning so his dad could shag for him. Joey will remember that forever. A moment for Votto, a moment for Leon Roberts. 4-0 Mets. Four to nothing. It's been that guy's night. Noah Syndergaard has struck out 9. He's been in control from top to bottom with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, a lethal changeup, and a breaking ball to boot. And on the offensive side, he helped himself with a single to center field that knocked in the first run to make it 1-0 Mets back in the second. And then Lucas DUDA ripped his 23rd homer of the year. It followed a double by Murphy and a single by Cespedes. That made it 4-0 in the third. So Anthony DeSclafani on the short end of a 4-0 score. 4 runs, 7 hits, no errors, 3 left for the Mets. No runs, 3 hits, no errors for the Reds, and 3 left on base. Anthony DeSclafani in inning number 7. And you mentioned pitch count, Chris. You know, the Reds have not adhered to the same pitch count controversy that the Mets have been embroiled in, but they've been very judicious with these young pitchers. Hit hard under the glove of Frazier. And Tejada will be on first to lead off the 7th inning. But they've kept DeSclafani right around the 100 pitch mark most games.
Well, I mean, they have a plan. I think the Mets had a plan too, but I'm not sure what happened to it with all the comments that Scott Boras made with regard to his client, Matt Harvey. But the Reds have had a plan, and you know, when your manager is your former pitching coach, no one has a better pulse of the pitching staff than Brian Price. And I imagine that plan was formulated by him and pretty much talked about, but he was the guy that authored it.
Well, charge Frazier with an error, and Syndergaard helps himself again. First time up, he singled in a run. After striking out this time up, he sacrifices the runner to second. And you talk about this year, you add up a year, you know, everybody talks, you know, most pitchers want to get to 200 innings pitch, and you want to don't miss a start. But by a Reds rookie, look at those numbers. 30 starts. This is number 30 on the year for this 25-year-old. And as a rookie, Tom Browning at the top of that list with 38. Browning took the ball every single time. The best numbers for a rookie starter belong to DeSclafani in recent years, right behind Johnny Cueto in his rookie year of 2008. Anderson tonight flat out twice and struck out. Pirates beat the Cubs this afternoon 3-2. The Phillies now lead Washington 6-2. Game started tonight for the Mets with a magic number of 3. Well, it could be down as low as 1 by the time the night is over. A rocket down the right field line, hits right by the chalk. That's a fair ball. Rounding third, coming to the plate will be Tejada, and he'll plate the 5th run for the Mets. 5-0 as Granderson rips a 2-base hit, his 31st of the season, and picks up run batted in number 65.
Well, he gets a changeup. That's not a changeup. It's a 2-seamer, and he just gets that up around thigh high. And Granderson's a good fastball hitter. I think that DeSclafani's running low on fumes. And it's not when you look at the radar gun and see the speed range go down. I mean, it's you see his release point, and that sinking fastball that early in the ball game it's down around the knees, now is around the around the kneecaps or a little bit above. That and the fact that he's nearing 30th start, as we mentioned, nearing 180 innings or above, and down 4-0 or 5-0, and watching his team go down in order against a guy who's throwing 100 miles an hour. That can get to you. Can even get to you if you're the manager.
Here's right, single, bounced out, popped out. Daniel Murphy on deck for the Mets. Chris, that swing by Curtis Granderson, brings to mind, we've been talking about it all year, Billy Hamilton. And you and I remember Granderson when he first came up. His approach was completely different as a hitter that really hit down deeper in the lineup most of the time. He's shortened his swing, shortened his approach. Completely different hitter than he is today. So you can shorten up. You can make it work. There's a bouncer, it'll go foul.
You know, you can say that, George, just about every successful major leaguer, and no matter what position they play. You know, catchers, if they shorten their movement behind home plate and become more compact, they get better over the years. Pitchers, if they shorten their delivery and get rid of a lot of extraneous motion that they may have brought with them when they signed, you know, after you pitch a few hundred innings in the minor leagues, all of a sudden now you begin to realize what is needed and what's not. And for hitters, if you don't have a short swing, they're going to eat you up inside. You're going home before you ever get here.
1 ball, 2 strikes to White. Look out. Woo. That'll go all the way to the backstop, carry him back, and allow Granderson to go to third. A wild pitch. They're arguing, did it hit the bat? Wright said it didn't hit the bat. Angel Hernandez says it did. Take a look. Was it the bat or the glove? Angel Hernandez says bat. Wright says didn't hit my bat. Tough to see.
Have we still had a conclusive view of it?
Might have. Looks like the direction changed.
I say glove. I say leather, not wood.
1 says glove, 2 says bat. Terry will come out and argue, but Bob Guerin, the bench coach. Terry Collins lost his argument last night, Chris, and you and I went in to talk to the umpires about it last night when they called a quick pitch against the Mets.
Well, there's what the video guy in the Mets clubhouse is taking a look at right now. Now, I'm not sure if it's a reviewable play, but you can at least ask the umpires to get together, and the conversation will go like this. Did you see anything different? I guess it is a reviewable play.
They will go to replay.
And it would not demand it on the part of the manager, but the umpires have the option of reviewing it, and that's why they're going to take a look at it. And you don't see it very often. Kind of a weird response by David Wright right there. And
you don't see a quick pitch very often either. We saw that last night, huh? Ted Barrett with Angel Hernandez talking to the umpiring crew back in New York. And we want to say thanks to Ted too, Chris, for all the great work he's done for us over the years and your mechanics of the game. And he's been so helpful to us in translating the job of umpiring to the average fan.
You know, a very nice guy, and knows the rules like nobody's business and explains them well. And while we were down there talking to him, Josh Lewin from the radio broadcast, the Mets came down. He wanted clarification of the quick pitch rule. And, you know, Ted Barrett took time out and said, all right, here's what the whole deal is on that. And here's why it works and so on, because the Mets had a previous quick pitch confrontation with the Philadelphia Phillies a few weeks back. So Ted made it clear to him what the deal was, and he does that to a lot of announcers who take the time to go down there. By the way, George, you're the one that taught me the importance of going down to the umpire room and talking to the guys in black or in blue, and it's been worthwhile going down and getting to know those guys.
This is an official challenge we hear now from the Mets. So I think Terry Collins went up and asked if you can review that. If you can't, we want to challenge. So they are officially challenging it. The call on the field was a foul ball. They have to have a conclusive view that it actually hit the bat, not the glove. We'll see. The call stands. It is a foul ball. Really difficult to see. It looked like the glove from our view, but it's difficult And Terry, all he can do is shake his head. So 2 minutes to take us right back where we were.
So the count stays 2-2, right?
1-2.
Oh, 1-2.
And the runner's still at second.
Now that's what David Wright's answer. Well, what's the count now? And Angel says 1-2.
And Granderson heads back to second base. Now DeSclafani peers in. Here's the 1-2 to David Wright. Wide of third, long throw by Suarez, and they don't get it there in time. I think Eugenio was hoping that Granderson might try to go to third. That was really the only play he had with Wright running. He gave it a try, but not much, and that may be it for DeSclafani.
It should be. He's whipped.
Yep.
And tired.
Back up. Bounces Suarez, but not in time to first. So the double knocked in a run after the error, and now there's runners at first and second. That'll be it for Anthony DeSclafani. So he'll leave on the short end of a 5-0 count. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. All coming down to the wire tomorrow on Fox. Battle for control of the NL wild card between the Pirates and Cubs. Pirates won today, and the Brewers take on the National League Central Division Cardinals in a game when you could only see it on FS1. Coverage starts tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern on Fox and continues at 6:30 Eastern on FS1. Brewers and Cardinals. Pirates have clinched. The Royals have clinched. Classy move by the Pirates, Chris. A brief toast, a champagne toast, not a crazy toast. And Kansas City, you know, they went a long way last year, got to the World Series.
Just so happened that Johnny Cueto on the mound last night for the Royals.
He looked like he was having fun. Hopefully he gets himself straightened out for the postseason. He's had a rough last 5 starts. Well, here's Tony Cingrani, who will come in relief of Anthony DeSclafani. The 2 runners on are DeSclafani's ledger. That's a bloop into center. That's going to drop for a hit. Here comes Granderson. He'll score. And Wright will stop at second. That run charged to DeSclafani. The 6-run charged against him.
Yeah, that's too bad, too, because it seems to be a common theme when DeSclafani leaves somebody on, they come around to score. Murphy looking first pitch fastball and got one, as you would expect to get one from Cingrani.
And you see Anthony there with John Moscott. John, after shoulder surgery, Chris, he's heading to Arizona where he'll pitch and then probably pitch in winter ball too. So you're talking to him last couple of days. He feels great. course, wasn't his throwing shoulder, it was his opposite shoulder, and they hope he'll be part of the package next year.
Good. Nice young man. And what a strange injury that he sustained. If you don't remember what it was, the Reds were in Detroit, and he picked a runner off second base, and in the process of being involved in the rundown, he landed on his glove shoulder and broke it, and was in tremendous pain. They got him off the field. They ended up having to have surgery on his non-throwing shoulder. So, you know, the good news is he was injured at the big league level, and he's getting big league time.
That's right.
The bad news is that he would have seen this year an opportunity to pitch out of the starting rotation at the major league level, an opportunity he's never had before. And you don't know if this opportunity is going to present itself again next year. Let's hope it doesn't.
Hopefully this is a once every 10-year scenario.
Well, because the Reds running these starters out since August the 14th. Their starters are 12 and 27 and an earned run average north of 5.5. You're not going to win very many games at all with that kind of performance.
The bad news are those numbers. The good news is you find out which one of those group of young pitchers might be able to contribute in the future. Raisel Iglesias, John Lamb, all part of a young package that the Reds hopefully will march out as a significant part of a better year in 2016.
And the other thing you're trying to learn about is the guys out of the bullpen, because that needs a remake. And Tony Cingrani, who spent a lot of time down in the minor leagues this year, he's been on and off the disabled list here and there. You know, he's figuring to be part of the bullpen next year, but this is a situation that he would be brought into, you know, to face a tough left-handed hitter or two in the opposing lineup.
Three balls, one strike. Rocket to right, and guess what? Lucas Duda has a 2-home run night, half the way up the moon deck. Not only 2 home runs, but 2 3-run shots. So Duda homers in the third, a 3-run shot to make it 4-0. And here in the 7th, this bullet into the stands in right gives the Mets a 9-0 lead. Twelfth time in his career. He's got a 2-homer game. That pitch up there, Chris, not going to get it done.
Well, it normally does get it done for Tony Cingrani. That's where his bread and butter is, on that fastball. But I've always thought that left-handed hitters become high ball hitters off of left-handed pitchers. And Duda certainly was right there in that swing.
A high ball and a career high for Lucas Duda. 6 runs batted in. 2 home runs, now got 24 on the season. 9-0 Mets. With Philadelphia now leading Washington 8-2 in the 8th inning, the Mets are on the verge of lowering their magic number to 1. Here's Travis d'Arnaud, the Mets catcher.
Well, I'm sure that the concessionaires are happy that there are fireworks after the ballpark, or else there might be some people heading for their cars.
The last fireworks Friday of the season.
We didn't know we were going to get them in the 5th inning.
Have been provided by the Mets.
The 3rd and the 7th.
d'Arnaud lined out, bounced out, hit by a pitch. Two.
Well, this top of the 7th inning has lasted so long, maybe Syndergaard's arm will get stiff. Just looking for the bright spot here, George.
Good job. He's stretching himself, getting ready. Now that the plate count stays 2-2. Miami now leading Atlanta 12-6. They're in the 6th inning in Miami. Colorado 2, the Dodgers 1. And Milwaukee and the Cardinals are 0-0 in the 3rd. In the dirt in front of home plate. We'll go full 3-2. By the way, Dave Dombrowski today, Chris, continued to formulate his front office.
He's down with the Boston Red Sox, right?
Yep.
After being let go or moving on past the Detroit Tigers. He gets hired by the Red Sox. So what did he do today?
Frank Wren will join him.
Okay, former GM down there in Atlanta. I've known Frank since he was an associate scout, I think, for the Montreal Expos.
9 runs on the board for the Mets. 9th pitch of the at bat is the final out of the inning. Cingrani finally closes it, but 8 come to the plate. Started with an error, ended with a big swing from DUDA. 9-0. On this night for Noah Syndergaard, off the charts, and in 2 starts against the Reds. Here are the numbers that are off the charts as well. 14 innings pitched, 8 hits, 1 run, 14 strikeouts. On this night, he has been in control from the get-go. 9 punch-outs through 6 innings as we're set to go to the 7th. That's a big-time arm, Chris.
You know, you watch the guy pitch tonight, and you ask yourself, the only obvious question that comes to mind is, how does anybody hit him? I mean, why doesn't he do this every time out? I mean, this guy is the closest. And Keith Hernandez came in and visited with us before yesterday's game, George, as announcers from other teams often do, you know. And he said this kid is the closest I've seen to Nolan Ryan. Because a lot of us think, you know, we see 95 nowadays. And, you know, back in the day, the only guy who was throwing 95 consistently was Nolan Ryan. And on today's radar gun, that may be 100 miles an hour easy. But a lot of those guys who are throwing 95 are getting hit all over the ballpark. Syndergaard, when he's riding it up there at 99, that's a whole different deal. It's the same way it is when Aroldis Chapman runs it up there at 102 and 103.
Bruce bounces out, first out of the 7th inning, and that'll bring up Todd Frazier. Bruce 0 for 3, a fly ball out, strikeout, and a ground out. Frazier's 0 for 2 and 2 strikeouts. mean, that fastball at 98 is part of the story, number one. Number two is he locates it. I mean, it's not all over the place. It is impressive for a 23-year-old big tall right-hander that he's able to command the strike zone the way he has. And just like Nolan Ryan, it's a heavy fastball.
Well, he's got a compact delivery. We already talked about his arm motion, and that the less motion you have, the more you can repeat it. I mean, he just takes his hand out of his glove, pulls it up behind his right ear, and then cuts it loose. There's not a lot of swaying. There's not a lot of turning. There's not a lot of excess movement, especially with his front side, with his glove that may throw his head off. Keeps his head perfectly still.
1-2. That's 3 straight strikeouts of Frazier. He's in double figures now, 10 strikeouts on the night. And here comes Eugenio Suarez.
Well, you know it had to come sooner or later that we're going to name one of these fastballs that comes as a strikeout our flamethrower of the night. Again, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. We thank them for their patronage all year long.
Not only
use a lot of bottles at Cholula along the way.
On everything.
Yeah, you're right.
13 straight retired by Syndergaard, and he's now thrown first pitch strikes to 16 of the 24 batters he's faced. And we showed you Tom Browning in his numbers for rookie starts as a Red. When Pugsy talks to all the young pitchers, the first thing he says is make that first pitch be a strike. And Syndergaard sure done that tonight. Suarez singled and bounced out 0 for 2. Darno will go out and check with Syndergaard. If you're wondering, 4 times this year he has had double figures in strikeouts. His high this year and career high is 13 strikeouts in a game. Here's his 86th pitch. Adam Duvall on deck. Man. Back-to-back strikeouts. Now 11 on the night for Syndergaard. The Reds go 1-2-3 again. 14 straight retired by Syndergaard. Fans in attendance will win prizes throughout the game. Plus, first 20,000 fans will receive a 2015 Reds team photo. Thanks to Snickers and Kroger. For tickets, Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. Postcard entries are accepted. Numbers on this one: 9-11-0 for the Mets. A career high 6 runs batted in for Lucas Duda with 2 3-run home runs. The Reds, no runs, 3 hits. Ivan De Jesus is the new third baseman for the Reds. New right fielder as well. It's Brennan Bosch. And a new pitcher on the mound. Here's J.J. Hoover, Chris.
J.J. comes in. He's the third pitcher of the night for the Reds. I guess the double switch involved right there with Frazier leaving the ball game, and J.J. for a while here was the guy that the Reds would call on to get to Aroldis Chapman when they needed somebody to hold the lead in the 8th inning. He has not had too many opportunities here with the Reds looking at the losing streak that they've got going. So you got to get him some work somehow.
Bosch is over in right. De Jesus over at third, and here goes Hoover. Conforto tonight doubled back in the second, and later scored on a base hit by the pitcher Noah Syndergaard. So not only has Noah Syndergaard been brilliant on the mound, he's got the go-ahead RBI in this night. Gave the Mets a 1-0 lead. Syndergaard struck out, and he also sacrificed in the 7th, so he's helped himself at the plate. De Jesus will bat 4th. Bosch will bat 9th, and the pitcher bats in the number 5 spot. By the way, a couple of hi and hellos for you. First, get well wish to Larry Brishaber from Edgewood, Kentucky, a great Reds fan who's a little bit under the weather. Larry, thanks for all your support of Reds baseball and for rooting on the Reds. We'll put you in charge of 2016. How's that? Bosch dives. Does he come up with it? No, it's in the dirt for a base hit. Good effort by Bosch, but a base hit for Michael Conforto.
Got a good jump and thought he had a chance right here, Bosch did, and
good effort by Bosch. So the leadoff batter on here in the 8th. And here comes the shortstop, Ruben Tejada. Tejada bounced out, struck out, and reached on an error. That opened the door for the big inning in the 7th when the Mets scored 5. And by the way, Chris, you know, we all year long we're so fortunate to have the help of so many people in the Reds organization, and over the years we've had so many great interns that the Reds PR department has brought in, from many of them from local colleges. Many of them grew up here, and we want to say thanks to Brian Doyle, who has done a great job this year, and also to Amanda Rodriguez. And Amanda, this is her last night. There's Amanda. She's sitting up in the official scorer's booth. She's a native of Minnesota, worked for the Twins when she was living there, and in addition has been a tremendous asset to the Reds PR department this year. She's moving on. She'll work for MLB Network.
very good for Amanda. She's done a great job. Very nice young lady, and I'm glad MLB Network was smart enough to go ahead and hire her.
Sean Casey will take good care of her over there. Great worker. Did some tremendous.
He doesn't know what she's in for.
That's right. Fly ball, right field line. It'll be in the seats. You know, people talk about all the big money that the players make in the game of baseball. The special people in the game are those that sometimes work for nothing, sometimes work for peanuts, and literally peanuts. And the interns at every ballpark with every organization, they learn a lot. That helps. It helps their development. So many of them wind up staying in baseball, and that's good for the game. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Inside out swing to right. Bosch closes on it. He's got it. First out of the 8th inning.
Well, Georgia, there are so many more opportunities for young people in baseball organizations now than there used to be. I mean, they have the need in the baseball department for analysts, statistical types, those that work well with numbers and so on. And now in college, as you know, because you've been a college professor before and taught communications and so on, but now there are majors that are actually sports marketing majors, sports communication majors. There never used to be those. So now you've got a lot of kids coming through college with that kind of major, and they're looking for jobs.
Broken bat, sliced into left. That's a base hit, but that kind of night, they've hit some bullets off the Reds, but there have been moments like that too.
Jeez.
And don't forget, tonight on Fox Sports Live, Cubs and Blue Jays on the brink of heading to the postseason. And plus, Matt Leinart has a preview of the biggest college football games coming up tomorrow. Catch Fox Sports Live on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Here's Granderson. Double that knocked in a run in the 7th inning. So Syndergaard's done just about everything tonight. A couple of base hits, a sacrifice, and 4 plate appearances. From the stretch is Hoover with 1 away. Oh boy. That's a bullet. That's gone. Home run number 24, and it's been home run derby for the Mets on this night. The Mets, who have beaten the Reds 8 of the last 12, are putting an exclamation point on this night and on their season against the Reds. Another 3-run home run, the 3rd 3-run home run for the Mets tonight. 2 of them by Lucas Duda, this one by Granderson. And it's now 12-0 Mets.
You might as well tell the Mets right now we're completely out of Toyotas. Stop trying.
He's had a heck of a year. 24 homers, 68 knocked in for the leadoff hitter for the Mets. Next to his hitting coach, Kevin Long. That's the night when a hitting coach can put a smile on his face, huh?
Well, I would say this team has some swagger. I mean, you score 12 runs, you hit home runs the way they have tonight, and you send a pitcher out on the mound and throwing 100 miles an hour. And he gets a couple of hits.
Here's Uribe hitting for right in the number 2 spot.
Just add water to that, and you have swagger.
Oh, boy. Uribe missed some games with a pulled muscle in his upper chest area, and it looked like he may have aggravated that as he tried to swing. I mean, they just got him back. He was out a few days, and as you saw him turn, it looked as if he did it again. He's been one of the spark plugs of this club since coming over. Take a look. Tried to hold, but almost automatically holds that upper chest area where he pulled the muscle already, right on the left side. Before the game, he was so happy to be back and take batting practice and be ready to play again, and that doesn't look good, Chris.
Well, obviously he's in pain, and I didn't realize what his injury was, George. Prior to that, you don't see many people getting hurt on a check swing, but obviously had he been previously injured right there, that to come out of the ball game like that, not good.
Well, we talked about it last night. One of the keys to the turnaround, yes, Cespedes has been brilliant, but with Johnson, Kelly Johnson, and Uribe added to this lineup off the bench, their bench is a lot better. There's Eric Campbell, who will come in and for Uribe. So Uribe was pinch hitting for right, and now Campbell will pinch hit for Uribe. I mean, you got veterans like Uribe and Johnson coming off the bench late in the game. That changes the whole approach of anybody's bullpen. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Campbell, and that's a swing and a miss. As promised early in the game, we have selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag Ohio Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. John, thanks for yours on this night. Fun night. Salute to you. Breaking ball drops in for a strike. And here's Kelly Johnson. Now the other part of that bench too, Michael Kadire, who had been the starter, now has moved to the bench. That gives you another great at bat late in the game for the Mets.
Well, it gives you a really good at bat, left-handed, or to go opposite of
Conforto.
Conforto is going to get all the at bats probably against right-handed pitching, and vice versa for Kadire. So that's a nice little, system that they've got work with those two, a platoon lefty-righty that probably neither of them like. I mean, you've got Kadire, who's been a batting champ, and Conforto, a young and promising rookie, but it works out well for the team concept.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And the veteran that Kadire is, I mean, he's been around his last won a batting title with, of course, he was outstanding with Minnesota, but won one with Colorado. And then talking to him the last couple of days, he said, look, at this stage of my career, I'd rather have a title. That's a call, strike 3, and finally the Reds out of the inning, but not before another 3-run homer. The trifecta, 3 3-run homers for the Mets tonight. 12-0 they lead.
Syndergaard, and we'll give you a little bit of a look, a graphic / video look of what he has done. He's got a changeup working good. That's a high fastball right there that he blows right by Tucker Barnhart. And he's also got the slider working to time. There's a fastball on the outside corner, however, to Joey Votto. On the block, Joey knows it. And here's a slider to Todd Frazier. So even though he throws as hard as he does, he's not a one-pitch pitcher. He's not a two-pitch pitcher. He's got the entire repertoire of 3 different pitches that go different ways at different speeds. And the results, a lot of goose eggs on the board for the Reds tonight.
Another first pitch strike.
It's really interesting for Syndergaard because he's a guy that was hardly recruited at all out of high school. He grew up in Mansfield, Texas. He pitched on some big-time travel teams down there. And in his junior year, he grew 3 to 4 inches, and he got up to 6 feet 4 inches tall. And then his senior year, he's throwing 96 miles an hour. But by then, a lot of colleges have already made their decisions on players that are seniors. So we talked to the University of Oklahoma, University of Nebraska, Baylor, and the only school that offered him anything was Dallas Baptist University. So he ends up getting drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays late in the first round and ended up getting signed. And of course, the college offers didn't mean anything to him. But it just, you never really know at the time someone matures whether you may have missed the bus or not. And I think there are a lot of colleges out there that probably wish they had recruited this young man when he was a sophomore, because he would be a year out of college right now instead of dominating at the big league level.
There's Tucker Barnhart after Duvall lines out. Barnhart, strikeout and a bounce out. And the other part of that, Chris, it tells you the importance of scouting, you know, of beating the bushes and finding players that might not be the most obvious ones. This one blooped into left. Conforto, right place again. 2 away.
You know, when you face a guy throwing as hard as Syndergaard, you're not going to see many balls driven into the left center field gap. Those are balls that guys hit right out of the catcher's mitt. They hit breaking balls late. That way left-handers do. And that's why Conforto is playing so shallow against lefty hitters. Although he got Duvall, a right-hander, jammed inside. But that's why he really moved in on Barnhart.
9th spot on the order. Here's Brendan Bosch. Well, the beat just keeps on coming on, Chris. Tomorrow it'll be John Lamb against Matt Harvey. He'll be on the air with the Reds live at 3:30 prior to the game. And Syndergaard is the real deal. He came in 8-7. John Lamb will go against Harvey, who's 12-7, an ERA of 2.8, and Syndergaard's been big, but Harvey's been maybe more, you'd say, more polished. Another big arm, but more polished.
Yeah, you're right. But the good news for the Reds is that he's on a pitch count limit, and they may get him out of there earlier than they're doing so tonight with Syndergaard. I mean, would they even consider shutting this guy down? Are you kidding me? On the verge of the playoffs? That didn't work too well for the Washington Nationals.
Sure didn't. And it's now final. Philadelphia 8, Washington 2. So the Mets' magic number is 2 at this stage, and on the verge of going down to 1 with a 12-0 lead. And when you look at where the Mets are and formulating their rotation, Bartolo Colon will probably end up in the bullpen. The question will be, who will start game number 1? Probably Jacob deGrom. He's the veteran and clearly the leader among these young pitchers. And most managers, and Terry Collins is one who believes that too, the key game of a 5-game series, game number 3. If that's the case, you'd think Harvey would start game number 3 and Syndergaard would start game number 2.
I think that he would be just as well advised to flip a coin.
Sure.
How much better can you get? Now, I know you're pitching against a team that's not having it together right now. I mean, there's a lot of guys pulling in different directions for the Reds, and it's been that way for a while. But this is playoff stuff we're looking at tonight. This is the kind of pitcher that general managers drool over and say, if I get to the postseason and I have a pitcher that can pitch like Noah Syndergaard, I can get all the way to the World Series.
Pitches for Syndergaard tonight. We talked about innings counts and pitch counts. I mean, that list that you saw, as impressive as the 100 pitches and the strikeouts, is the fact that he's limited pitches in each inning. He struck out people, but it's not deep in the count. It's 1-2, 0-2, and punch out. So he's been averaging 14, 15 pitches an inning, which is right about where you want to be. John Browdy's got his abacus down in the truck. He says this is the 15th pitch of this inning. Three-two. Hit pretty good to right, going back, looking up, going to be gone. The Reds are on the board. Well, Bosch hasn't had much of a chance this year to show what he could do offensively, but that's a good swing against a pretty big arm. Not much to celebrate on this night, but Brendan Bosch will pick up that round tripper.
Yeah, good for Brendan Bosch. I mean, at this point, what are you doing except trying to show everybody that you can play? That was a rare mistake, a breaking ball at 81 miles an hour that he dials up there for Brendan Bosch, although long at bat by Bosch. That was pitch number 9, and he got enough to get it out of here.
80 at bats only on the season, and there's his first homer.
Next time up, I imagine he's going to see some heat when he faces Noah Syndergaard again.
Back to the top of the order, Jason Bourgeois. 2 hits for him tonight, and there's a bouncer over the bag and back-to-back hits. 3 hits on the night for Bourgeois. And that'll get Joey Votto to the plate. Votto 0 for 3 with his consecutive game on base streak, and he will not face Syndergaard because out comes Terry Collins. And that'll be it for Syndergaard. You don't want to lead, Chris. You like to see that, don't you?
Boy, you're not kidding. Maybe not the greatest choice of words, but when a guy gets taken out of a ball game and he has a case of the goo, I like that a lot.
Love it.
Guy's a competitor.
104 pitches for the big guy. He leaves with a 12-1 lead. Time for our call to the bullpen. You're watching Fox Sports Reds baseball. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Pleasant night weather-wise, but not pleasant for the guys who stepped in the batter's box against Noah Syndergaard. There's Dan Worth and his pitching coach right next to him. Boy, man, give Worthen credit. You know, you talk about the big arms, the great young talent, but Worthen has managed to help these guys get better. He's managed to help them understand their roles.
Well, you're absolutely right, George, but the other way to look at it is, and I know Dan Worthen, he's a great guy and an extremely good pitching coach. But this is a pitching coach's dream. I mean, you go to bed at night thinking, man, if you can just give me a staff of guys that throw 100 miles an hour, I'll make them into something. Now, a lot goes with it because you're managing people probably more than you're managing arms. And at the big league level, you're not working on mechanics and things like this. You're working on mental approach. That's Eric O'Flaherty, the left-hander on the mound that will take over and face Joey Votto.
Well, the other part of the story tonight for the Reds, the game pretty much out of control, but Votto's consecutive game on base streak is on the line. Joey flied out, struck out, grounded out. Here are the numbers on O'Flaherty, his 16th appearance of the season.
You know, I bet one reason why Syndergaard was so angry coming out of the ball game is that he probably wanted to face Joey Votto one more time and say, I'm the guy that stopped the streak.
O'Flaherty to the stretch. Votto asks for time and gets it from Angel Hernandez. You add up this year 41 straight games for Votto. Second longest active streak in the majors behind Joe Mauer, who's 43. And that's low. Votto battles back 2 balls 2 strikes. Longest streak this year belonged to Matt Holliday before he hit the DL, which was 45 games, and that he started the year right off the bat with 45 straight games on base. Two balls 2 strikes 2 outs. And he did it. Line drive into center field. Here comes Bourgeois around third, and Votto. He doesn't give up anything. Doesn't give up at bats. Doesn't give up pitches. And yeah, this game may be out of hand, but for that guy, it was like 9th inning of a 1-1 ball game, and he drills a single to center field.
You're right on it, George. I mean, it's always Votto versus the pitcher.
Well, we talked a lot about Pete Rose earlier tonight and any night. In 42 games, that's the longest streak by a Red since Pete Rose went 48 games way back in 1978. Big deep breath for Joey. That'll be it. The left-hander does not get Votto out. Another pitching change, and while it takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. York Rangers just 14 days away at the home of the Blue Jackets, Fox Sports Ohio. Don't forget, you'll have all of your Blue Jackets coverage right here on Fox Sports Ohio all season long, and still to come tonight. We'll have Reds Live post game, and the Reds will Be back tomorrow with Reds Live pregame. That'll be at 3:30. It's a 4:10 start tomorrow, so you hope you'll join us for that one. Sunday's game will not be on television. The Reds will head to Washington on Monday for that one game makeup game, and the final 3 at home will follow. Here's Bobby Parnell, Chris, and Parnell, Murphy, and Wright are the only 3 that are left from this organization when the team really struggled. Parnell at one time. There goes Votto down to second. He'll turn and head to third, and there's a base hit from Brandon Phillips. Parnell, coming back from arm surgery, has had an up and down roller coaster season.
Bobby Parnell used to be one of the hardest throwers in the league until that arm injury. And the bullpen, despite having some impressive names down there and guys that have done the job extremely well this year, like Jerry's Familia, they've got Addison Reed, a former closer with the Diamondbacks. Tyler Clippert, pretty good setup man. He's had some struggles. We saw Robles last night. He's a hard thrower as well. I mean, upper 90s.
Here's Ivan De Jesus.
But I would imagine getting closer to the playoff time, you know, Terry Collins is still trying to figure out and how to define roles for those pitchers in the playoffs. Who are the guys that he can really go to when he needs it out? Who can come in with runners on base? Who needs a clean inning?
That's another rocket. This one in the right center field. 1 run comes in. Here comes Phillips around third. He's going to score. And the Reds are making this interesting come 8th inning. A base hit by De Jesus, plates 2, and it's now a 12-4 ball game.
Well, we seem to say it every night. Ivan De Jesus, you talk about a guy taking advantage of his opportunity, taking it the other way and hitting it hard. That's a nice swing.
He's done a lot of things nicely since joining the club, hasn't he?
You know, with being able to watch De Jesus this year as much as we have, because he's played a lot and played all over the place, I'm wondering why he's never been able to stick in the big leagues previously.
Here's Skip Schumacher hitting in what was Frazier's spot in the order. You know, the one thing about Ivan, Chris, he's a little bit like his dad. He does everything well, but nothing over the limit, nothing at the top of the limit. So you got to see him every day to appreciate what he does, just like his dad.
His dad was a player.
Yep. Both sides of the ball, he did everything right, and you could see why he's learned the game the way he has. You mentioned this Mets bullpen as Schumacher steps in. 8 for 20 in his last 7 games. A guy who has been the best pinch hitter in the National League this year. From the stretch is Parnell. Right center field, sinking, it will drop. Rounding second, going to third. De Jesus, and it's 1st and 3rd for the Reds with 2 outs. As Skip Schumacher delivers the Reds 6th straight hit in the inning. You figure in this Mets bullpen, Familia is guaranteed. Reed, Clippard, guaranteed. Well, Flaherty you thought was guaranteed. But there's some decisions still to be made for Terry Collins. There's Suarez, singled, bounced out, struck out. Robles and Gil Martin loosening in the pen for the Mets. Ninth batter of the inning for Cincinnati here in the 8th. Jesus sitting at third. Schumacher down at first. When Parnell came off the disabled list, you figured, Chris, he'd probably be a fixture in this bullpen. But when you look at the numbers and the way he's performed of late, his position on that postseason roster is up in the air. Breaking ball wide, 2-2. That's a call, strike 3. Suarez thinks it's low. Angel Hernandez looks at it differently.
And he's picking up a fine for throwing his equipment. Not an ejection from the game. Not an ejection,
just a fine. At times, I mean, it's up to the umpire. You could be ejected for that. No ejection, but a fine to the Red shortstop. But the Reds put some numbers up in the 8th inning. They trailed 12-4. You can get tickets for as low as $12. Arrive early. Be one of the first 25,000 fans to receive a commemorative All-Star Game figurine presented by your Tri-State Chevrolet dealers. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. Another look at it, Chris. Eugenio Suarez saying it's low, and
well, not only low, George, but if you get on to one of the websites that show you exactly where that pitch is, or if you dial up your Twitter and get into red strike zone, you'll find out that was 4 pitches low, and only 4% of the time is that pitch called a strike. So you can see why Suarez is chapped, throws his glove or hat, and ends up probably paying a small fine, but I can see why he's chapped about that. Had the bat taken right out of his hands.
Speaking of Chap, here comes Chappie. Aroldis Chapman coming in, top of the 9th.
Going to be hard for him to make him happy tonight.
A long road on the 9th for the Reds. Chapman's 62nd appearance and 62 innings worth of work. That ERA is still spectacular at 1.74. And just as the Votto at bat was an interesting one for the Reds, here's Ramon Cabrera, who comes in catching. Here's Juan Lagares.
You know, the way the Mets have played against the Reds, you think, well, these guys are juggernauts. They come over here from the National League East and they must beat up on everybody in the National League Central Division. But that is not the case, and not by a long shot. They have had their real troubles playing against teams in the Central Division. And here's the record that the Mets have against the Reds. They're 4-0, not including tonight. They're 3-3 even against the Brewers and 1 under against the Cardinals, but they have not won a game yet this year against the Pirates, nor have they won a game after playing 7 of them against the Chicago Cubs. I find that just stunning.
And there's a chance they could meet them in that postseason after they face off against the Dodgers. Oh, here's Chapman, who comes in and walks the first batter he faces, Juan Lagares. Dilson Herrera will come in and pinch hit. Herrera, a couple of homers and 4 knocked in. So a leadoff walk here in the top of the 9th off Chapman. That's a strike. Pirates have won today 3-2 over the Cubs. Phillies were winners over Washington 8-2. In the 8th, Miami leads Atlanta 12-10. Colorado leading the Dodgers 7-1. They're in the 5th, and the Cardinals lead Milwaukee 3-1. They're in the 6th. Arizona and San Diego still to come. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Herrera. Wide again, 2-2. If you joined us late for the Mets, a 3-run home run from Lucas DUDA in the 3rd made it 4-0. In the 7th inning, the Mets come up with 5, including another 3-run home run from DUDA that made it 9-0. And in the 8th inning, a 3-run home run from Curtis Granderson made it 12-0. 3 3-run homers for DUDA, a career high 6 runs batted in. For the Reds, the bright spots all came in the 8th inning when the Reds scored 4. Included in that a home run from Brendan Bosch, the first of his year, as DUDA looks on. And Joey Votto, after going 0 for 3, extended his consecutive game on base streak to 42. Sky to the right side and out of play. Crowd at 26,000 plus, 26,780. Red side of it quiet most of the night. The Mets fans who came in from out of town having good reason to celebrate, and they're hanging around for the last fireworks Friday. Two. And we'll go full 3-2 after the leadoff walk to Lagares. Again, full count.
Boy, it's not like Chapman not to have a put-away pitch. Dilson Herrera is just hanging right in there.
Does it again. American League Finals, the Red Sox beat Baltimore 7-0 in that race for the wild card spot in the AL. The Indians still were hanging around. 4 games back starting play tonight. Toronto beat Tampa Bay 5-3. How about this? Hey, give Tito Francona credit, Chris. He's had that team bounce back in the second half. They're probably not going to make a wild card spot, but they've made the month of September interesting.
Yeah, they made it
young
fun
players.
for the players and the fans.
3-2. At 100 miles an hour, Herrera still hangs in. 2 batters and already 15 pitches for Aroldis Chapman. Line drive. Phillips has it, but back to the bag is Lagares. Good at bat by Herrera against the Cuban Missile. His final swing, he hit it right on the button. Joel Luckup busy on his computer. Chris, seems like a lot of pitches. I guess it was.
Most ever against Chapman in one at bat.
Give Herrera credit.
So is that going for him?
12 pitch at bat. They finally get Herrera on the line drive. Here's Anthony Recker, the backup catcher. And Travis d'Arnaud's place in the lineup. One out, one on. Eric Young Jr. in the on-deck circle for the Mets. After what the Reds have seen tonight against Noah Syndergaard, you can't say you're looking forward to seeing Matt Harvey. But I think Reds fans who haven't had a chance to see him will see another special pitcher tomorrow.
Oh, I think you ought to look forward to it. I mean, this is what you want. This is why you come to big league baseball games and why you turn on the TV to watch them, because you don't get talent like this anywhere else. I'm really looking forward to seeing Harvey pitch.
He'll face off against John Lamb tomorrow. Reds live at 3:30. Game right after that. Big swing, 2 away. And here comes Eric Young Jr. Cruising at 96, 97 until 10 pitches into the at bat against Herrera. And now he's got it dialed back up to 100. 2 away. Here's EY Jr. Overall 159 on the season.
Another news in from Nippert Stadium tonight with the big high school showdown between Moeller and St. X. Moeller edged out the Crusaders, or excuse me, the Bombers edged out the Crusaders 14-10. So X over Moeller in a well-attended game at Nippert Stadium.
Beautiful job on the stadium, huh? That's hit hard down to third. They'll get the out at second. That'll do it. Last roundup time for the Reds. They picked up 4 in the 8th. with Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. All the information you need for every day's game. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Tomorrow, Reds Live at 3:30. Game will follow at 4. John Lamb and Eva Sampson are the two pitchers for the Reds Saturday and Sunday. Matt Harvey and Jacob deGrom, two of the pitchers who will be in that rotation for the Mets in their postseason, will go Saturday and Sunday. Chris, step forward for John Lamb. How do you evaluate his month of September?
I think it's a learning process for John. I think he realizes that pitches up here that get hit aren't necessarily the same ones that were hit down in the minor leagues, meaning that you've got to make sure you stay on it. But I like what I see. I like his ability to change speeds. He's got a repeatable delivery. He's got a really good feel for what pitching is all about, and he knows his own delivery. I think that really is he's farther along, I think, than people think. And I think the same for Iglesias.
Here's the big right-hander Tim Stauffer coming in the 9th inning. 12 runs, 14 hits for the Mets, 4 runs, 9 hits for the Reds. And the news is better for Raisel Iglesias too. The hope is we'll see him before the year is over.
Well, he's sidelined with a little bit of a sore arm right now. He doesn't think it's serious. The Reds don't think it's serious, and I like to see him pitch, but he's a guy that has to be honest with the Reds at this point. And I mean, if his arm hurts, what's the purpose?
No balls, 2 strikes. Big swing, right side, going back. Duvall has a ground tripper. Well, Adams hit the ball harder than just about anybody in the starting lineup tonight, and he starts the 9th with a home run to get the Reds another on the board, his 4th homer of the season, and it's now a 12-5 ball game. Well, we knew, Chris, that he had some pretty good minor league numbers. He had some pretty good college numbers, and he's looking pretty good right here.
Well, he is, and we've seen him hit some home runs, George. But just about everything we've seen him hit has been to the left field. And here he gets a pitch up on an 0-2 count and drives it out of here with a real nice but powerful swing. Interesting piece right there. I mean, you're always looking for somebody on the bench that's got some pop and can play a few different positions. He can play first, third, and outfield. Another guy taking advantage of an opportunity.
Leadoff homer, 12-5 game. Here's the catcher, Ramon Cabrera, his first at bat of the night. Another guy who's taken advantage of his opportunity. Boy, did he have a great year down at AAA at Louisville. Bats player of the year and guy who gained the respect of his entire coaching staff behind the plate and in front of the plate as well. One, two. Bounce it down to third. Quick flip will be high and not in time. So Cabrera gets an infield hit. Campbell can't get it there quick enough, and the Reds have back-to-back hits. Runner on first, no one out, and here's Brennan Bosch, who ripped his first homer of the year back in the 8th inning. That got the Reds rolling, trailing 12-0. Bosch's first homer after 82 at bats got the Reds on the board. The play started tonight. The Mets had an 86-67 record. The Dodgers who they'll face in the first round of the playoffs, 87 and 65. So the Dodgers had 2 games in the loss column in hand. Cabrera off first, pitches wide. Dodgers now we're in the 8th inning, trailing Colorado 7-2. So if it stays where it is, Terry Collins will pick up a game in that loss column and get a little closer to the better record against the Dodgers. Swing and a miss, 2-1. The other way and out of play. It's been a long time coming, but Reds fans finally these last 2 innings have had reasons to put their hands together and cheer a little bit. At one point trailing 12-0, now 12-5. The other way again.
I don't know if you've noticed, but there have been a lot of souvenirs hit into the stands in the last couple of innings. I mean, Dilson Herrera was good for probably 6 or 7. It's been a good night to hang out at the ballpark.
Fireworks still to come.
Yeah, and it is a good fireworks show. Reds have just, they top themselves every year.
No comparison.
I mean, the Rossi fireworks folks come in here every Friday, and what a show they put on.
And we go, both the American League and National League, Chris, we go to a lot of ballparks, and you'll get a 5-minute fireworks display, and that's their fireworks night.
Yeah, and not even enough to beat the traffic out of the ballpark.
The only guy that was faster than you was Glenn Sample in the old days at the old ballpark. Glenn was out of the ballpark and out of town. He was the best, wasn't he?
Absolutely the best.
Joy to be with. There's Jason Bourgeois, doubled, singled, 3 for 4. Good night for him. The lone productive offensive night among the starters when Syndergaard was in there. If you joined us late, Noah Syndergaard, 104 pitches, was just superb. 7 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 11 strikeouts, and no walks. Can't get a better walk to strikeout ratio than that, huh? Change up out in front. Anthony DeSclafani, 6 1/3, 9 hits, 7 runs, 3 strikeouts, and a walk. DeSclafani had allowed 5 runs while he was in there. 2 more scored after he left. There's a swing and a miss. Out number 2. And maybe the most interesting at bat for Reds fans tonight came in the 8th inning. Joey Votto with that 41 straight on base streak on the line. He had flied out, struck out, and bounced out. Hit a solid single to center to stretch that streak to 42. There goes the runner Cabrera. No stolen base. They weren't holding him on.
All right, so Votto gets the base hit and he extends his streak, so seemingly really has nothing important to be doing at the plate right now. But while other guys are being pinch hit for, like Bruce, like Frazier, like Barnhart, well, Votto comes up to the plate and Phillips is in the on deck circle. I think that speaks volumes.
You don't want to leave any game.
Neither of them do.
By the way, Joe Mauer was 0 for 3 tonight, so his streak stopped at 43. So Joey's within 1 of Mauer's streak now. Mauer had the longest current streak and Holiday 45 to start the season, longest of the year. The other news of the day today, first time on the field, although he has thrown behind the scenes. Homer Bailey tossed, long toss today from flat ground. That's a good sign for the Reds coming off arm surgery. That pitch is up high. And from news off the field, Pete Rose, it was announced by Major League Baseball, they confirmed that he did meet with Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred yesterday, and a decision will be forthcoming before the end of the year, most likely after the season is over, on his petition to be reinstated. 3 balls, 1 strike to Votto. Pete Rose never gave up a pitch or an at bat and put number 19 on that same list. 3-1. Whoa. Go full 3-2. Bat ever taken for granted for that guy, huh, Chris?
I'll tell you, he grinds it out more than anybody in the game currently.
3-2, 2 outs and a runner at second. That is ball 4. So a walk and a hit for Votto tonight. Joey marches down to first. And with Brandon Phillips due out comes Terry Collins. Not what Collins had envisioned. With Syndergaard rolling and the Mets a 12-0 lead, all of a sudden here we are in the 9th. He's had to go back to the bullpen again. And while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Smiling scoreboard for the Reds, but that guy just keeps on keeping on. Joey Votto, games on base 2 times or more, the Reds single season since 1914. Votto in 2013 105 times. He's passed the century mark again, Chris, 101 times this year. He's in pretty good company with Pete.
Amazing. He was just an amazing baseball player, having a terrific second half of the year.
Here's Brandon. Phillips 0 for 3 until he stepped up to the plate in the 8th inning and singled to right. So 1 for 4 for the Reds second baseman. Recker got the worst of that foul tip. Strike 1 to Brandon. 2 on, 2 out for the Reds here in the 9th. Popped up right side. The right fielder Neuenhuis comes in to snare it, and that'll do it. So it ends up being a night of threes. The 3 on the back of Curtis Granderson tells you the story of a 3-run home run from Granderson, a 3-run home run from DUDA early, another 3-run home run from DUDA, 6 runs batted in, a career high for Lucas DUDA. And for the Reds, they finally get on the board in the final couple of innings, and they wind up losing this one by a final of 12-5. Coming up next, Reds Live postgame on Fox Sports Ohio.